All right, looks like we're live. I'm here with Matt Forney.
Cool Cat did 9/11.
And Pastor Tom's here with us.
Hello, everybody.
And artistic layman Luke, he should be joining us shortly. And we will definitely be talking about Cool Cat some today because that is just magical. But first, I'm going to read a little article. Let me bring it up and we'll talk about this. Hang on. Where's this at? Here we go. Okay, so this is off of noisy.vice.com. So, when it's on vice.com, it's good. That's the sign of quality right there. The article is entitled, oh my God, that is an ugly, ugly human being. This trans metalhead stepmom is making a historic run for office. That doesn't sound right. Run for office in. No, it is a historic. Okay, I was just being anal there. A historic run for office in Virginia. Danica Roem is not the first transgender person to run for Virginia House of Delegates. She's also, this is probably the first time reading that. I just glanced through it earlier. She's also the first member of a metal band to do so. Of course, it's a metal band. Good Lord.
Ooh.
Fucking. So, out of the edge. By the way, I did glance through this article, and this author does not stop sucking the feminine penis throughout this entire thing. Is that Luke back on it?
I'm experiencing technical difficulties. I'm trying to get my images back up.
All right, cool. All right, so Danica Roem never stops moving. She's a ball of kinetic energy, constantly gesticulating. I don't believe I've ever seen that word in my life. To prove a point, or leaning in to make eye contact. Her, we need some quotation marks around the her here. Long brown hair split over her shoulders during a conversation. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so she's running against, let me see if I can find the, because I don't want to go through a whole fucking Vice article. Life's too short for that. Oh, she's a stepmom, too. Can you imagine your dad, divorces your mom and marries some fucking dude in a dress? You're going to call mom now? What fresh hell is that? Okay, let's see. Okay, so she's running against a guy named Bob Marshall, a 25-year incumbent known for his conservative and often controversial anti-LGBTQ elemental P views, and her, fucking air quotes, rival in the current race. Okay, so she's still in the primary, I guess? I don't know. But apparently, her main complaint is that this guy never gets anything done on real issues of infrastructure and shit like that because he's...
Yeah, bro, you've gone robot, dude.
God damn it. Oh, I hate that. Hang on.
Anyway, basically, I'll fill in the gap here. Yeah, it's basically this nut job tranny who looks like Lurch in a wig. And the thing that astounded me most about this fucking chick is the fact that what's going on with her teeth? Wait. I'm sorry, chick? No. Dude, what's wrong with this dude in drag? The teeth. They're yellow. They're wrinkled for some reason. They look like... Is brushing your teeth part of the cis-het normative conspiracy or something? I didn't read the article because life's too short for me to even read a Vice article, but I just fixated on the picture. Like, what is wrong with the teeth? Is that shallow? I mean... Well, we are talking about someone who is so mentally ill. They think that they are a he when they are in fact a she. But the teeth, I can't get past the teeth.
I wonder if it's something hormone related.
No, that's a possibility, but
well, this is a metalhead. It's not going to let brushing your teeth is lame. Zer's not going to let the man tell him/her to brush and floss. Now, seriously though, this is. I used to be of the mindset that I got annoyed at how much some of the Republicans focused on social issues to the extent of, getting anything else done. A guy like Rick Santorum, you could never get him to focus on fucking anything unless it was abortion or faggots. That said, though, I pass every anti-LGBTQ plus elemental P fucking bit of legislation you can at this point, because these people need to go back to the closet. I have really gone more hardline on this shit anymore because they're insane. They are insane. As a group, they are insane. And I'm about ready to just say the closet or the rooftop here with these people. I'm so tired of it.
Well, we can have a compromise solution. We can put them in the closet, and then we can throw the closet off the rooftop.
But I mean, seriously, like it's, and we're getting to this other one, but it's like, it's becoming abundantly clear, society's used to oppress these people for a reason. And yes, there's always been gay people. There's always going to be gay people. Whoopie jack shit. That doesn't upset me. But, that used to be something that was, in that bathhouse hidden in the alleyway and in the closet, away from fucking Main Street. That whole, what I do in my bedroom doesn't affect you shit doesn't apply anymore when, you're walking down on a fucking parade with your dick hanging out.
Well, there's a difference between tolerating people in the sense of, oh, you found out you're gay, now you're going to be taken out to the street and shot, versus this constant celebration. Someone comes out as trans, someone comes out as gay. Oh, wow, it's the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, again, we'd make a big step forward if we just stopped celebrating it. It's just this, ooh, it's so amazing. Ooh, wow, a man is pretending to be a woman. That's great. That's, really, what's the deal, Two dudes are having sex. What's the amazing thing about this? Just this is the celebration from society is enough to drive one insane.
Well, I've also been incredibly taken aback in the last few years of how the gay community, by and large, are a bunch of death worshipping psychopaths that are bound and determined to destroy themselves and everyone around them. I mean, there are no heterosexual bug chasers. There is no heterosexual bug-chasing subculture. It doesn't exist. Maybe Salon's going to try and push for that shit in the next few years. By and large, it doesn't exist. There's a distinct difference here that just isn't being acknowledged. They're not just like you.
Well, I saw a statistic that, gay men are responsible for 52% of all new syphilis infections in the U.S., even though they're like, 3% of the population?
Optimistically.
And what's the one there's a gay dude that's, I don't know, in the state house or state senate or something out in California, and I mean, it looks just like, grids personified, who has made it now, he's reduced the penalty for knowingly infecting someone with AIDS.
Oh yeah, it's a misdemeanor now.
Yeah, his name is Scott Wiener.
Meanwhile, they'll throw you in jail for not acknowledging someone who identifies as a Bulbasaur, like me. I mean, they'll throw you in jail for using the wrong pronoun, but we're going to lessen the penalty on knowingly infecting someone with a deadly incurable disease.
Those two separate laws were both passed and pushed by the same guy. Scott Wiener.
Well, you got to get rid of the stigma. You don't want it to be a stigma. Yeah, when it comes to a deadly disease, you do want a stigma.
Yeah, I mean,
deadly disease acquired through a optional and highly risky activity.
Yes, that should be stigmatized. That's not a good thing.
I mean, you're lucky this is a free enough country that, when we find out you have it, the doctor doesn't just leave the room and people with hazmat suits and flamethrowers come in to take care of you. I mean, that's how a lot of cultures would deal with a fucking, epidemic.
Yeah, what?
Especially when you go on Tumblr and find out a lot of these people are catching it on purpose.
Oh gosh.
Or we don't do what, say, Cuba does and quarantine them all on an island. Hey, remember that all you queer communists who talk about how capitalism is enforcing heteronormativity on you? Your favorite country, Cuba, the communist country, would put you on an island and forbid you to leave for the rest of your life.
Oh, well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, as much as these gays just almost uniformly love big governments, it's funny how all these types of big government they all love usually line them up against the wall in a hurry. Because, if you're trying to build a communist state, you need everybody to be a good cog. And some bug chaser who slams meth isn't exactly a good cog. But yeah, it's become abundantly clear that, society's attitude towards these people used to happen for a reason. I mean, just a few years ago, I didn't give a shit about gays. I didn't care. I didn't particularly think that, it was right or it was equal to heterosexuality or anything, but it was like, people would be like, gay marriage. I'd be like, I don't care. Sure, here's a piece of paper from the government. Can we audit the Fed now? But I didn't realize I was going to have to bake you a dildo cake or be thrown in jail.
And soon enough, you'll have to suck dick or you'll be thrown in jail.
Yeah, in California, having AIDS is about to be mandatory. The rate we're going.
In about 5 years, California is going to bring back the rape squads that were in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Only they won't be called rape squads. They'll be called same love tolerance compliance squads. And like Common Phil said, they'll be dressed up like Sonic the Hedgehog.
If you get a vowel in there, you could make an acronym.
Alone on a Friday night? God, you're pathetic.
They'll be coming for Liev Schneider's fucking kid.
The upside, with Luke's recent move out of California, God is one step closer to wiping that place off the face of the earth.
We're lucky he doesn't wipe the United States off the face of the earth.
Like when we build a wall, can we wrap it around California too?
Well, I mean, can they just secede already? Just let them be their own country. They can have Hollywood. We don't need their movies. Bye.
Yeah, really. A few years ago, I used to say, I wish California would secede, but, leave Hollywood because I like watching movies. But at this point, I'm like, nah, you can take that too.
We'll just need a substitute for Silicon Valley.
Even them, they're not making cool fucking tech anymore. They're just making more horrible fucking...
Well, the iPhone X, that's just about as good as a regular phone you can get right now.
Yeah, only it's even better at tracking your information.
And worse, virtual reality simulators for those lonely moments.
I remember watching a few years back this B movie with one of those Skinemax type movies about a future in which married couples are so bloated and disgusting and so lazy that they don't even want to have sex with each other. So they'll go to VR pods and they'll have VR sex with other people instead. That's our future, or at least that's the future that Silicon Valley wants. We're all hooked into the Matrix, just on a never-ending supply of soma and orgasms.
Just as long as I have my Starbucks and my Stranger Things.
Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco. I love you.
Stranger Things came out today. I've been meaning to catch that. I'll probably watch that tomorrow. Thor 3 came out today. I've been meaning to go see that, but
I thought it was coming out in November.
I don't know. Somebody told me today it came out today, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it did come out in November.
Yeah, because I wanted to see it. It looked pretty good. Like I said, I thought it was in November. Mario Odyssey came out today.
Yeah, I saw that. And of course, because, sometimes the gaming culture on YouTube annoys me because I'm waiting till Christmas to get a Switch, right? So, it's the day Mario Odyssey came out, and I'm already seeing YouTube videos of watch the Mario Odyssey ending and shit like that.
I was seeing that stuff yesterday, and I'm like, guys, can you not wait one day for the thing to come out? I know you get it early and stuff, and great, that doesn't bother me, but don't be putting this crap on YouTube when some of us, want to don't be spoiled for the game. Not that it's a big deal. I mean, really and truthfully, but
yeah, but I mean, I don't want. It does get annoying sometimes. This year, and instantly when it comes out, it's not even reviewers. I mean, sometimes it's just fucking nerds that plow through it in the fastest possible time.
or just people wanting views, and it's hot, and so they know it's going to get views.
But enough about Darkseid, Phil.
Oh yeah. Has anyone heard of the director for the Thor movie?
What about him?
Takai Waititi.
Oh, that's a weird name.
Yeah, I don't know this director, so I'm not sure if anyone's heard of him.
No, but I'm not even sure what kind of diversity hire that is. I mean, maybe he's a good director. I don't know. The thing looks good, but
Which movie?
Thor 3.
Oh,
He's New Zealand apparently.
I think Black Panther is going to be the first Marvel Avengers universe movie I don't bother seeing, because it's like I don't have anything against Black Panther as a character or as a concept, and I actually liked him a lot in Captain America 3, but I don't really. I mean, the guy can barely carry his own comic book, let alone his own movie. I mean, he's never been more really than a B or C list Avengers character, and then you top it off with the all the fucking leftists running around excited about how this is We Was Kangs the movie.
Black Panther fights the white supremacists.
It's like, see, this is what Africa would have been like without the white man getting involved. It's like, no, it wouldn't. I mean, look, it's an interesting idea in fiction, the idea of, a very advanced civilization hidden amongst very primitive ones. But yeah, let's be fucking real, okay? It's funny, DC actually has its own advanced civilization hidden in Africa. Only theirs is with hyper-intelligent gorillas. I will leave it up to the viewer to decide which one's more far-fetched. But yeah, honestly, I don't think Black Panther is going to make a tremendous amount of money, as much as everybody's all like, oh, like the leftist media is hyping it up. I don't think they have nearly the power they once did. And I mean, blacks alone they're 12% of the population. So, they alone are not going to make a movie successful, by and large. And I mean, I predict this movie's probably going to make it'll be lucky to make Ant-Man money. Yeah, it'll make money because the Avengers is a popular brand right now. But it's not going to make a ton of money. It'll do okay. It'll be in a theater for like a month, and then it'll go to DVD.
According to his filmography, he's made mostly independent films, and his last movie was a comedy about British vampires called What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with any of that.
Yeah, I'm not really going to see Black Panther. Not going to see the new Star Wars movie. I don't know. I just can't be bothered anymore. I don't even feel like a lot of people are all that excited about the new Star Wars movie. Like, I mean, you got some of these people, but I don't know. There just doesn't really seem to be nearly the same type of hype as there used to be.
I'm not even sure I would be aware if there was a new Star Wars if I hadn't seen a trailer when I went to go see Blade Runner 2049. Like, it's just sort of there.
Well, I haven't even seen the trailer. Like, Race from Race Ride Apparel was sending me some sort of meme based on something from the trailer. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't get it. I didn't watch the trailer because I didn't care.
I don't know. Something about like the Jedi are going to end or something like that, because
I'm actually not sure what they were talking about in the trailer because the one I saw wasn't dubbed in Hungarian.
That's right. I did see one of the trailers. I don't remember what movie it was, but I was watching a movie with my dad, and the trailer came on, and like they said something about like the Jedi needs to end, and my dad just like was like, "This franchise needs to end."
Speaking of franchises that need to end, apparently Star Trek Discovery got whatchamacallit, renewed for a second season.
How? Like
I don't
nobody watched that. That's got to be a higher up is just keeping it alive. Nobody watched that. It bombed horrifyingly bad. I mean, partly nobody watched it because it's not even on TV. It's on their fucking. They expect you to pay for their streaming service to watch this shit.
I don't know.
The main character, the female lead character, is named Michael. That's all the reason in the world I need not to watch it.
I couldn't believe when that actress was running her mouth about how, like, oh, finally Star Trek has a black lead character. I'm like, are you fucking shitting me?
Captain Sisko.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Star Trek has had black main characters since the fucking 60s. Second of all, they've had a black lead character since when did DS9 come out? Like 93 or something like that?
Yeah.
And again, it's just, it's the typical social justice bullshit where, this person has no fucking idea what they're talking about. They're not actually interested in this fucking thing. It's just entryism, pure and simple.
And it's also true what people say about the new generation. They think history began when they were born.
Sure. Well, I said when that fucking reboot movie happened, I'm like, this is it. Star Trek's fucking dead. And I have yet to be proven wrong on that. I did hear that Star Trek Beyond was a decent movie, but I'm going to chalk that up to a dead cat bounce. I mean, don't get me wrong. Star Trek was in rough shape before the reboot, but you could have done something with it. You could have revived it somehow. But once the reboot happened, I'm like, that's it. It's dead. It's officially reached a not giving a fuck level.
Yeah, I can't even be bothered really to be upset about it anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah.
Yeah, it was 8 years ago that I basically had to deal with mourning the loss of this childhood beloved franchise of mine. So I'm kind of over it at this point, I mean, it's
right now they're just masturbating over the decaying corpse.
And I mean, it's not like it was the greatest thing in the world to begin with. I certainly admit Star Trek had its terrible fucking moments, but there was some magic in it still, and that's gone.
Oh, Robo Bechtloff is back.
I'm having really shit internet tonight. This is almost unusable. Everything is so slow.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I was never a huge Star Trek fan, but a few years ago, I went and watched Star Trek: Next Generation from beginning to end, mostly as an experiment to get into the minds of ordinary fucking people, to use the quote that I can't source at the moment. And I ended up liking it. I mean, the first couple seasons are horrible, which is what everyone says. It got better with the later seasons. I wasn't a huge fan of how stiff the actors were at times, but it was entertaining. I can see why people would have liked it. I can't see for the life of me how anyone could stand the new Star Trek movies. Well, to be fair, I've only seen the first one and only seen part of it because all the special effects gave me vertigo. But
yeah, I mean, I was a pretty big Star Trek fan. I mean, because I grew it up, I watched it with my dad. He liked it, and so I mean, I remember a lot of the memories that I have of Star Trek are with my dad. Like we played one of the old, Windows computer games, Star Trek 25th Anniversary, which is just like this old kind of it was a flight simulator / point and click adventure game, and I was I liked more of the original series, but again, I like a lot of those older shows anyway. Like when I was a kid, I'd watch a lot more, Gilligan's Island or Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Wild Wild West, that kind of stuff. So Star Trek was kind of in that same style of kind of those older TV shows that I used to like. And I was never really all that big into the Next Generation. I really liked Deep Space Nine. That was probably one of my favorite Star Trek series. I mean, the original series, I guess, will always be my favorite because of, my memories with my dad with that. But Deep Space Nine, I think, is the best. Voyager had its moments, but it wasn't all that great. And Enterprise, I just didn't really watch. The movies are pretty good. It's got some really good movies, but the new ones aren't very good. I mean, the first reboot, it's not horrible. It's but it's not the greatest thing ever. The second one is terrible, and the third one is it's like a fan film essentially.
Yeah, I watched Next Gen as a kid with my dad, and sort of parallel to watching like reruns of the original show. And I mean, I really love Next Gen. I really love Deep Space Nine. I think Voyager, it gets too much of a bad rap. It is really, really bad at times, but there are a few real bright spots in Voyager. And Voyager had the most potential out of all of them based on its premise. It is really a shame it kind of butchered the execution so bad. Enterprise, I basically consider unwatchable. In some ways, I kind of consider Enterprise basically the start of the death of the franchise. And I still think it could have recovered after that. But once it went to the reboot, it's like, it's done. But I actually had a buddy of mine, because I was a huge, because I'm a big Star Trek fan, and he started watching it, and he's watching Next Gen, and he's like, I started watching season 1 of Next Gen. It's really bad. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I just told him, I'm like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to watch the pilot. I'm like, he's like, oh, I already watched that. And I'm like, okay, watch Conspiracy after that, because that one's good. Then watch the episode where Tasha Yar is killed by a tar monster, because it's actually pretty awesome by accident. And then start with like season 3. And if anybody like were to get into that show, I would say like go watch the first episode where they meet the Borg, and watch the episode where they had the trial to see if Data had rights. And like that's probably where the series started to find its, I guess, groove. And if those don't catch your attention, then the show's just not for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, season 2 wasn't that bad. It was
definitely all right.
It was an upgrade from season 1.
Season 1
of the Next Generation.
Yeah.
I don't know, but season 1 and 2 are way too preachy. Season 3 is where you just basically need to start if you're going to start at all.
The problem with season 1 is that's the season that basically Gene Roddenberry had total control over, and at that point, Gene Roddenberry's brain was falling out of his ears. So,
yeah, in season 2, you had Dr. Pulaski. It's one of the worst characters ever.
She is very terrible.
It's worth pointing out that the best episode of that season doesn't have her at all. The Borg episode.
Yeah.
But even she's not as bad as like the decisions that were taken in season 1. Like the episode where they're on the planet of women and Riker is, being seduced by that Amazon woman is fucking. I literally cringed like I had epilepsy throughout that entire scene.
I'm not sure if it's season 1 or 2, but there's an episode where like they're on the planet that's like a paradise, and it's a paradise because there's no crime, because every crime is punishable by death.
And season 1.
Yeah, I think that was season 1, yeah. And like Wesley like steps on the grass or something, so they're going to kill him. And then, there's this big moral dilemma throughout it. Like Picard's like, I don't know if I can stop them because the Prime Directive. And I'm like, that's not what the Prime Directive says. Like, you're already interacting with them, so the Prime Directive only applies to internal affairs. If that. It would be one thing if it was like a girl Wesley had a crush on was going to be killed, and then Picard's like, I can't really intervene. But no, it's like, no, I'm not going to let you kill this kid. I'm trying to bang his mom.
He's a Federation citizen,
I'm going to claim diplomatic immunity. I'm not going to let you do this.
Well, that's the main problem of season 1. They're so autistically obsessed with following the Prime Directive to a degree that I forget what my original complaint about this was, but basically the Prime Directive basically exists in season 1 to let the Enterprise get tooled around. So many problems in the episodes of that season could be solved by the Enterprise just vaporizing the opponents from orbit or some sort of show of force. But instead, Picard acts like a total pussy all the time.
And I get that they were trying to differentiate him from
Kirk.
But it didn't work like later seasons. You really saw Picard think and talk his way out of situations rather than just act like a bitch like in season 1.
Well, like, you got season 3 to where they're trying to evacuate this planet, and they got this other species coming in that's like a real stickler for the rules. And so Picard comes up with like some legal way that basically either A, the alien species gives them the extra 3 weeks to get the people off the planet, or Picard ties them up in like legal knots for the next like 10 years. And like, okay, he's thinking his way out of it, rather than just shooting
classic,
it, he actually thinks about it.
He couldn't shoot his way out of that without basically instigating a war with a whole nother civilization. But, so he was trying to maintain the peace while also, not abandoning the people down there. That's an actually interesting, but again, like the Prime Directive in its spirit is supposed to exist that you're not supposed to like go to some planet where you fuck with cavemen. That's basically the idea of it. If you go to some planet and the people there are still beating rocks together, maybe you should leave them alone. So you don't mess with their development, you don't exploit them. That's the premise of it. But when you're already interacting with a species, openly interacting with them, then no, it doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Maybe it applies to internal affairs, depending on how close the Federation has a relationship with them. But it doesn't apply. It's not like, I have to let them kill Wesley. I mean, don't get me wrong, the show probably would have been better off if you had. But
I don't know. It was just like I said, I would say season 3, if you're going to watch it at all, maybe watch the first episode of season 1, that way you get the pilot and you know who Q is. Watch the Borg episode in season 2, and then just go to season 3.
Conspiracy is a pretty good episode in season 1 where they come to find out all the admirals and taken over by little bugs.
Yeah, that is true. That is a good one.
But that's like the least Roddenberry episode of season 1, too.
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually let that get by because he really didn't like the idea of that kind of stuff happening in the Federation.
Well, also when like the bugs are exposed, like the queen bug, there's no Picard trying to talk to it or make peace.
Nah, he just
like,
shoots it.
Yeah, he's like, set phasers to fuck this nigga.
Originally, those were supposed to be the Trills. Like that weird species that spotted girl is in DS9, Dax. That's originally what they were supposed to be, like a cousin to those symbiote things originally. That were like exiled from the planet or something.
They never did follow up on that storyline.
No.
Like they exposed that they're talking about there's others out there and they're coming and all that other stuff, but they just never went anywhere with that.
Now, there's a really stupid episode in season 7 where they get this virus and it like starts de-evolving them.
Yeah.
Really just stupid.
Season 7 is one where like they clearly ran out of ideas, but it's still better than season 1 because the actors had grown into their roles.
Yeah.
So at that point, they just signed all the good writers to work on DS9.
I mean, like, okay, yeah, that episode with the de-evolving is a good example. That's a pretty stupid plot, but at the same time, there's really good character moments with Picard and Data all throughout it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the premise is stupid, but it's, the actors are like, we're going to do what we can.
Well, Brennan Braga loves those types of stories to where someone's off in a mission, and when they get back, everything's horrible at the ship.
Yeah.
Like he does that several times in Voyager. He loves that storyline for some reason. I don't know. The Sherlock ones are pretty good with where they create Moriarty. That's also a pretty good one in season 2. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, those were pretty good. I forgot that was in season 2 where they started that. Because there was a couple episodes of those.
Yeah.
There's like an episode where like the fucking Enterprise becomes self-aware and it's like just flying around collecting materials. And like they go into this is season 7. And they go into like the holodeck, which is kind of the Enterprise subconscious. And the Enterprise is just like, there's nothing they could do about it, right? And by the end, the Enterprise just makes this like weird contraption machine, right? And just sends it off into space to go fly away. And then the Enterprise stops being self-aware or something. And, they're all like, should we do something about that? And Picard's basically like, I'm sure it's fine. Like, you have no idea what sort of dangerous monstrosity you've unleashed upon the galaxy. But he gives a speech of how, like, well, the Enterprise's quote-unquote personality was based on all of our personal logs. So I'm sure it's not a dick. I never. It was some weird, like the design on it was so retarded too. It was like a bunch of white and red tubes like intertangled in a knot, and it just like flies out into space. The car's just like, I'm sure that's fine.
This is fine.
100 years later, it destroys all life in the galaxy.
That's why they don't do movies in the old timeline anymore.
Yeah, there's a few years later, there's nothing. Yeah, it's like 6 months after Voyager ends is the end of all life in the galaxy. Oh.
Anyway.
So, Luke, can you bring up visuals by chance? I don't know if Luke can bring up visuals yet or not, but
my computer has decided to update.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's more than it's almost 80% complete.
All right. Well, when you can, see if you can bring up visuals. But
your computer is a lying whore.
I'm sure it is.
I stumbled across something very, very interesting this week. I started watching a channel called I Hate Everything, and it's been around for a while, but I've never really gotten into it till recently. He's doing a search for the worst, where he's watching the 100 worst reviewed or rated movies on IMDb, and one of them is a little film called Cool Cat Saves the Kids. Now, this was apparently a meme for a while. There are tons of Cool Cat. I didn't know anything about this. So it was new to me. I realized some people were like, oh, this is old news. New to me. This guy, Derek Savage, does this really cringy, horrific kids movie about like anti-bullying and gun safety and shit like that, featuring this character, Cool Cat, who is cool, in case you didn't catch it. And he loves children, and he loves all the kids, as he likes to say.
And don't forget, he loves babies too.
He loves babies too. He can never eat a whole one by himself, but this is extremely like. First of all, it's just autism to the fucking max, and it's also got a few borderline pedophilic vibes in it. And
I watched the entire movie. After seeing Bechtloff talk about it on Sunday, and yeah, I wish I had some alcohol with me right now. I really wish I could. Actually, I could probably go get some beer, but then I'd miss the discussion. So
what's really interesting about it, because it is insanely amateurish. I would bet there's like a budget of less than $500, not counting the fucking gay ass furry costume that he walks around in to be Cool Cat. And that's the thing. This is a furry costume. Okay, that's a quality costume we're talking about. Like he's gonna go fucking yiffing after he's made this movie.
Well, he's in a costume, but he's also wearing clothes on top of it. So,
well, yeah, he's got to wear a shirt that talks about how cool Cool Cat is. There's like scenes where it's like Cool Cat's like laying down, and I guess it's supposed to be like when you scratch a cat's belly and his legs going, but it's like looks like he's jerking off.
Yeah, he does that twice.
Yeah, he does that twice, and nobody like he doesn't say anything about it. He just does it. He just starts basically beating off in the middle of this movie.
And in one scene, he actually starts making a little moan sound when he does it. Like
this movie for babies, and then like so Derek Savage is Daddy Derek, not to be confused with Daddy 05, I suppose. And he's I guess Cool Cat's dad, because he's married to some other giant cat monster that is, I don't know, his wife. And there's like this really weirdly flirty scene where he's like flirting with his wife. He's like, "Yeah, you're a pretty kitty or something." Like just it's really tonally inappropriate for this kind of movie.
You're a real fine-looking kitty cat.
There it is. That's exactly what he said, and it's really fun. Now, okay? So on one level, so a madman decided to film this madness, You know, that's not that surprising until you realize this guy has been like featured on Fox News. He's been like serious interviews. This movie has Eric Estrada and Vivica Fox in it. Like recognizable names are in this film. And they're going to be in the sequel. He like crowdfunded a sequel on like Kickstarter or some shit, and they're going to be in the sequel.
And the budget for the sequel is only $2,700. That's the weird thing.
I can't imagine it more than that was spent on the original.
The only solution I can think of is that Daddy Derek is blackmailing them. It's the only explanation.
I mean, I can understand being in the first one. You know, your agent signs you up for something, you have no idea what it is, and it's like, okay, whatever, I'm stuck doing this. But
well, I watched the movie, and you know, I hate everything. And there's another movie review channel called Your Movie Sucks. They did reviews of Cool Cat, and they break down most of the issues. So, recommend go watching that, particularly the I Hate Everything review. That's fucking hilarious. But I noticed so much shit that I didn't see covered in that review. Like, for example, the villain of the movie is Butch, this 6-year-old blonde kid, fat kid who's like bullying Cool Cat and Cool Cat's friends, and they can't stand up for it. Like he cyberbullies them over text. Then he kicks their sand castle over. Then he and his buddies go they go spray painting shit with a can of paint. At one point, he steals a gun. Yet this kid, for some reason, talks like a villain from a 1940s detective movie. Like he affects like this Humphrey Bogart accent. Oh, look, there's more paint, or something like that. In fact, at one point, he actually says, dag nabbit, like, oh, Yosemite Sam. This is fucking what? What the fuck? Like, I don't know. I mean, what the fuck is going on here? And also, among other weird things, we talk about Cool Cat and how Cool Cat's mom is also a cat. They only had one cat suit for the movie filming. Only one cat suit. So they took the Cool Cat suit, put red lips on it and eyelashes on it and a dress, and then film that as Cool Cat's mom. You'll notice very carefully that there's only 2 scenes in the movie where Cool Cat and Cool Cat's mom are in the same frame. And you can actually see the split line in the middle where they merged the 2 takes together in order to make it look like they were in the same room.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed it the first time. But it wouldn't surprise me because, I mean, I'm sure those fucking Fursona suits are expensive. And Lord knows this thing didn't have any kind of budget.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on his site and order like this nightmare-inducing Cool Cat mask.
I think I'm going to go as Cool Cat next Halloween.
Yeah, but who will save the kids from Cool Cat?
Yeah, and the other thing too is this movie fails at its stated purpose of teaching anti-bullying and gun safety measures. Like, for example, early on in the movie, when they get a rude text from Butch, this Cool Cat is playing with his friend, the rat-haired Mexican. She gets a rude text from Butch, and she says to Cool Cat, it's like, "Oh, I got a text, but I didn't know what it was." And Cool Cat's like, "Oh, you should open it. Maybe you won some money." And then they're all like, "Yeah, if I got money, then I could. There's a lot of use I could get out of a lot of money." And Cool Cats are like, "Yes, with a lot of money, we could like travel the world together. We could go far away." And I'm like, "Okay, this is very uncomfortable now. Very fucking uncomfortable."
Can you guys give me a rundown of the movie real quick?
It's Autism Squared. There's a rundown.
I really can't give you a rundown of the plot because plot, that word doesn't really apply. This is just a series of things that happens.
It's like an anthology series?
It's just like these are things that happen. Hang on a second.
Oh, it's kind of like Grown-Ups.
It doesn't have a unified plot. It's like a bunch of vignettes stitched together. The longest one is like the one at the beginning, which is like 25 minutes. But after that, the remaining vignettes are like 7 minutes each. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing to what I was going to say. One of the major anti-themes of the movie is like teaching children how to deal with bullies and cyberbullying. Another famous incident where it fails on that front is a scene where Cool Cat is on his computer. He gets an email insulting him, and this instead of ignoring the email, he actually responds to it saying, "If you were nice, you'd have more friends, because having friends is cool." Which is the exact opposite of what you should do if you're getting trolled online.
But did he spell it Kewl? I hope.
No, he's not cool enough for that.
Cool Cat basically responds to bullies the way Chris Chan does. It's like just everything you can to make it worse. And yeah, like when it comes to the plot, I can't give you a synopsis. I really can't. No one can. I mean, like, okay, so like a girl comes over to Cool Cat's house and is hanging out with Cool Cat, and then Cool Cat just gets bullied, and then Cool Cat decides he's gonna film a music video with his dad, so his dad could show off the fact that this guitar was signed by Van Halen, as if the 4-year-olds watching this have any idea who the fuck Van Halen is.
Cool Cat loves to boogie woogie.
Like that's literally, if you were to describe the plot of this movie, you would just be constantly saying, "And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then the movie was over."
And again, with the weird amount of respect and press this movie gets, there's actually scenes of Cool Cat dancing and participating in the Hollywood Christmas parade. Like this idiot is dancing down Hollywood and Vine in the middle of the parade, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's all right, that's cool."
We got to have our furry representation.
Well, there actually are a few people during the parade who look a little squicked out at Cool Cat, but yeah, yeah.
It's that I honestly I want to try and stream this movie at some point and just like live react to it, but I mean, I also don't want this guy crawling up my ass legally. Because he'll apparently do that.
He did try to do it to I Hate Everything.
He was in like a 6-month legal battle with I Hate Everything. In which like, I Hate Everything was trying to be nice with this guy and be like, come on, we can work something out here. You know.
Yeah, he's like Tommy Wiseau in that he's really protective of his intellectual property.
Cool story.
Which you could have for the mask, the gloves, and the DVD for all $120.
Oh, hi, Mark.
$120 dues, and you can get yourself a Cool Cat mask.
You are tearing me apart, Cool Cat. But yeah, I watched this thing from beginning to end, and my God.
So I like how you can't be bothered to read a Vice article, but you can sit and watch Cool Cat from beginning to end.
Well, that is less painful than a Vice article.
That's true.
Well, I did think parts of this movie were actually kind of funny. Not intentionally funny, but funny in an unintentional way. Like,
no,
funny
Cool
how?
Cat is
like I'm a clown, like I amuse you? Funny how?
Yes, Cool Cat is extremely accidentally entertaining. I got to give it credit there. When it comes to like fun, bad movies, you really cannot get much better than Cool Cat Saves the Kids.
I mean, even random stuff like, they trying to film Cool Cat, asleep. But, because they were too cheap to get some fabric to slide over his eyes, it just looks like he's having a really bad acid trip. Just spazzing out on the bed, like he's like batting away invisible demons coming to eat him.
Which I'm pretty sure is how this story was written. Like that's how this movie was made. Yeah, Cool Cat Saves the Kids. It's a real
He's cooler than Barney the Dinosaur.
What is it with these kind of weird shows and its emphasis on saving? You got Bill Nye Saves the World, and that's terrible. And then you got Cool Cat Saves the Kids. Man, these people have a very puffed up opinion of themselves.
Well, it's an outright lie in this movie's case because he doesn't actually save anyone. All he does is cry and complain like a little bitch.
It's like the exact wrong way to handle bullies.
There's a scene where it looks like he's going to kick the bully's ass. And it's so weird because it's like this movie has no self-awareness. This movie is talking, this Cool Cat is talking about like crossing the street safety about how you need to look both ways and stuff. And then he sees the fat kid over on the other side spray painting, and he just instantly bolts across the fucking road without looking both ways. And it looks like he's about ready to like live up to his cat nature and just maul this motherfucker. Like he's running him down like a cheetah for a second there.
I bet if you change the music a little bit, you could make this into more of a horror movie.
Yeah, he runs up to him and he's like, "You shouldn't do this." Oh, and he sounds like Mr. Meeseeks the whole fucking time too. Like,
hey everybody, I'm Cool Cat. Look at me.
Like maybe that's who was playing Cool Cat. Daddy Derek just opened the Meeseeks box and say, "Can you help me make a horrible children's movie?" Ooh, can do.
But Cool Cat didn't go away when it was done.
Hey, Cool Cat, existence is pain. Oh man, yeah, Cool Cat. I honestly, I don't know if I want to do it on my channel, but we'll see. But I want to. This movie needs to be streamed and reacted to because it's special.
Well, one way around that is that you could stream like the commentary, but like require people to get the movie on their own. Like they can't bust you for having an unaccompanied commentary track. It's not useful to anyone unless they possess the movie. But it's like the riff tracks method of getting around.
I think when Vidney,
what you need to do is you need to galvanize DSP's fan base into getting him to live stream and react to the movie.
Now that's some evil thought there. I like it.
Somebody copy Mr. Medicare in that plan. I think if VidMe goes to live streaming, that'll be like one of the first things I live stream. Is what? Let's all watch Cool Cat Saves the Kids.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I almost forgot. One of the other weird discrepancies I noticed in the movie. Not only are they using the same cat suit for Cool Cat and his mom, I think it's the same actor as well. Because the woman who does Cool Cat's voice, it's clearly overdubbed over it. So imagine that this makes it even creepier. All the scenes where Derek Savage is like, "I love you, you sexy little kitty cat." He's actually talking to the same dude who's playing Cool Cat. Only he's now dressed in the furry equivalent of drag, you could call it.
The movie's really something special. There's no getting around it. I highly recommend checking out the magic of Cool Cat Saves the Kids. I'm damn near ready to just order the damn thing on DVD.
Well, you could also, wait for it to fall off the back of a digital truck, as it were.
The funny thing about ordering it on DVD would be if I then just download it on my computer and then sell that DVD to my retro game store so that they're forever stuck with Cool Cat Saves the Kids sitting on their shelf. Because you'll never be able to discount that enough. I mean, the box art has Comic Sans on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the many disconcerting things about the movie. He apparently had enough clout or money or whatever to get Eric Estrada and Vivica A. Fox, but the cover looks like it was designed in MS Paint.
So, Matt, changing gears from Cool Cat for a bit. I understand your good buddy Dickie Spencer is up to some shenanigans in Europe.
Yes, his 3-year ban from the Schengen area just expired. He's going to be speaking in Sweden, and he's going to be speaking in Poland on Poland's Independence Day, and the Polish government has actually said, we don't want him coming here. Now, keep in mind, the Polish government is a right-wing nationalist government that's all about kicking the refugees out and keeping Poland Polish and fighting the EU. And even they say, Dickie Spencer, stay the fuck out of our country. Stay the fuck out of our country. That's how fucking repulsive Richard Spencer is to everyone. He can't even get governments that are ostensibly ideologically aligned with him to support him or want him around.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know if it's because this guy actually is a Fed, which I don't think is very likely, or if he's a useful idiot, which is probably very likely, or if he's cursed like a monkey's paw, which I can't rule out. But everywhere this guy goes and everything he touches turns to shit. And somehow none of it ever gets on him. That's the amazing thing. Just a shit storm perpetually swirls around this man, and he somehow remains spotless and walks away unscathed from all of it, while people around him are going to prison and fucking dead, and all this shit's happening.
He's like a Clinton.
Like Cantwell, after hanging out with Richard Spencer, ended up in prison and was thrown off of everything from YouTube to OkCupid. Meanwhile, Richard Spencer's still allowed on Twitter, of all fucking places. Twitter.
And he has a blue check mark. He's part of the blue check mark mafia.
I mean, being to the right of Karl Marx is a sufficiently bannable offense on Twitter, and Richard Spencer is still there.
Well, here's an interesting factoid. Most people know that 3 years ago, when Spencer tried to organize an NPI conference in Budapest, Hungary, the Hungarian government banned the conference and arrested Spencer when he tried to put it on, and then deported him from the country. And then he got a ban from entering EU territory for 3 years. That's why he couldn't return until now. They did it because they thought he was a CIA spook. Like, the Hungarian government thinks that Richard Spencer is on the payroll of the deep state. And the only reason he wanted to hold a conference in Budapest was to embarrass the right-wing nationalist government there. And it wouldn't shock me if the Polish government thinks the same thing, considering that they've got access to way more intel, at least I'm presuming, than we plebeians in the general population do. I'm going to put it out there right now. Spencer's almost certainly going to get banned from Poland and from the EU for a second time. Now, since he's not organizing this conference, he's just invited to speak at it. Like, we're probably not going to get any entertaining footage of him getting his jaw broken with a truncheon. Probably most likely we'll see some protests, maybe an arrest, or maybe he'll just, he'll go to there, give the speech without a hitch, and then he'll come home and then he'll get a letter in the mail telling him that he's not welcome back in Poland.
Is Spencer involved with the protests that are going on in Tennessee? The White Lives Matter protest?
I have no idea, but frankly, I'll just assume he is, because he always looks for any opportunity to get attention for himself. So that's the thing. He's showing up on he's showing up in Poland on their Independence Day. Like, it's a move designed to get maximum attention for himself and just cause problems for the local government.
Yeah, I mean, I'd ban him from any place I was in charge of. The guy, like I said, he's just a walking catastrophe. And whether or not it's because he's actually some sort of deep state plant, or it's just he's a useful idiot or whatever, at a certain point, you got to recognize the pattern, all right? All this whole race realism thing, everybody's like, it boils down to pattern recognition about, what certain groups do and all. Well, apply some pattern recognition to this fucking individual.
Well, to their credit, the Polish and Hungarian governments got that, so...
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't let him in any area I controlled.
And I mean, it certainly kind of pains me to say this because, in theory, I don't think anyone should be banned from any country for their political views, unless they're inciting violence, which, Spencer isn't. But in practice, I would not only like to see him banned from Poland, I'd like to see the immigration officers give him 5 across the eyes for good measure.
I can't argue with you there.
I mean, for everyone who's wanted to ever see Richard Spencer, punched in the face, which is a surprising lot of people before he became famous, this year's been a banner year.
Well, he doesn't mind it because being punched in the face is a form of attention.
He's got that whole, sadomasochist thing going on. He probably gets a sexual thrill out of it. Moved to Alexandria, Virginia, because that's where all the best S&M dungeons are. Like Lindsey Graham, is an obvious flamer. On every Friday night, he's in some dungeon in D.C. getting flogged with a cat of 9 tails with a ball gag in his mouth.
So speaking of drama on the more or less right wing, good old Laura Loomer. Now we talked about this. I think I don't remember. Davis came on here and told us a little bit about this on one of the streams, but apparently, like people are accusing Laura Loomer of basically like sexual assault and being a stalker and shit like that, and Laura Southern is kind of hopping on the fuck Laura Loomer bandwagon, and then somebody else, I don't know. Mr. Medicare did a really good video on it. You know, don't talk to Laura Loomer or her tire ever again. But this is the same bitch who a few months ago faked her tire being slashed, or not even fake. Basically, her tire rotted out because she didn't, you know, her tire was too fucking old. So she complained that the evil Antifa slashed her tire, apparently using some, you know, some device that moves time forward in a localized area. Caused the tire to age 100 years in 2 minutes. They got the time stone from fucking Thanos. And because it was just obviously not a slash. It obviously looked like her tire rotted out and blew out. But, you know, then she had a fucking GoFundMe for her tires or some shit like that. And she's the one that ran up on stage of that one play where she's like, this is inciting violence against the right. And then, like, when she got arrested, the rebel media went out there with this, you know, crowdfunding thing for her bail that they had already set up before she even went out there.
She's like a walking anti-Semitic stereotype. Like if she didn't exist, the Daily Stormer would have to invent her.
Don't talk to Laura or her tire ever again.
Well, I talked about her pathologies actually on a stream with Royce Reader and William Rome. This was back in July. This was back actually around the tire thing, the case of her missing tire. The issue with Laura Loomer is that I went through her Wikipedia, and she had and there are two crucial details from her early life that stuck out to me. The first was how her father taught her to identify as ethnically, politically, and culturally Jewish. And the second was how she initially started out going to Wellesley College, I think it was. That was her initial college, but she had to transfer because she, quote unquote, felt isolated for being a conservative and ate every meal by herself. First off, I can guarantee you the reason she was isolated at Wesley and didn't have any friends was not because she was conservative, but because she was a cunt. I can just tell. The idea that maybe not so much these days, but back when we were all growing up, going to college, you know, it was possible to have opinions to the right of Karl Marx and not be socially ostracized. You just had to not be an asshole, which for most normal people isn't that hard, but for Laura Loomer, it apparently is. And number two, she identifies as Jewish, but she didn't get any actual, you know, education in being a decent human being. Like, you know, like Bechtloff, you joke about how Obamacare, you know, screwed up the giving out free shit part of socialism. Well, Laura Loomer screws up the, you know, screwing over the goy part of being a Jew. Because all she does is she launches these scams and these attention-oriented schemes, and she gets nothing out of it but ridicule.
Oh, she's just an absolute. I mean, in all fairness, the rebel media has become an absolute joke. I mean, look at the quote-unquote stars that they've launched. I mean, the best people to come out of that site are Gavin McAnus, who, I mean, you know, we could spend a while talking about that guy's problems. And then Laura Southern, you know, who, as I've said on here before, her whole political career is basically the right-wing political equivalent of Findom. Yeah. I mean, these are not people that are actually moving political discourse forward or actually coming out with ideas. You know, Laura Southern puts out 80 pages of boomers and Muslims suck and, you know, calls it a book.
In a very mild...
McAnus runs around kissing dudes and sticking things up his butt while he lectures people on what real men, quote-unquote, do and don't do.
Well, in a very mild defense of Southern, she's been stepping up her content game as of late. You know, I was never a fan of hers, but her recent videos are actually pretty good.
I've seen some good videos of her even before, but yeah, she is stepping up her game, and that's good. But by and large, I mean, there's no reason this woman should have the pool and the popularity she does, aside from the fact that a bunch of guys like to pull their blood to her.
Well, I mean, the Laura Loomer and the Red Pill Black stuff and everything, that kind of speaks to a problem with the right in general. Two aspects of it that kind of feed off of each other, which is you got one half of the right that is so paranoid of everybody that, they don't do any type of networking or anything like that. They've got to be so, pure in a sense that they do sort of tend to purity spiral out of control. But then you've got the other half, though, that's so desperate to be accepted by people that they'll just take anybody who says anything that's even, right of Karl Marx at this point, even if the person's a bit of a train wreck.
Well, yeah,
both those two sides feed off of each other on the right.
Well, that's actually a good thing to point out, Pastor Tom. Candace Owens and the Red Pill Black channel and all this attention she's been getting from the alt-right and the alternative media. She's still running that website, Social Autopsy, that doxing website that doxes people if they say anything remotely offensive online. She's still running it, and she got the money to fund it. She got it not from the left. She got it from the alt-right because she rebranded as a conservative, and all of these people rushed to accept her and want her complaining about the left. They discriminated against me. They tried to ruin my life. Because even leftists thought that a website that doxed people for their online statements was a really bad idea.
Yeah, and it happens again. Well, I mean, like Milo, again, Milo can be funny, and he's funny in debates and stuff like that. But aside from that, why did he become such a alt-right icon in that sense? Why did he gain so much attention? Oh, well, here's a gay guy, and he seems like he's a conservative. Well, let's lift him up.
Fucking based.
And then we end up getting kicked in the pants because of it. But at the same time, you got the other people, though, who don't want to do anything, or, somebody says something that you don't quite agree with, and it's like, oh, they're not really right. They're leftist. They're whatever. A plant.
Well, the thing is, there's a huge segment of the right that has never gotten over their desire for approval from women and gays and minorities. It's not just they basically feel that their opinions are not legitimate unless someone other than a straight white male says them, which is why, again, someone like Candace Owens can get so much attention, even though she's an absolutely wretched human being. I mean, if you've seen Triologic's video on this, she basically calls out the entire alt-right for promoting this lying individual. Paul Joseph Cuxton's defending Candace Owens. Mike Kukovich is defending Candace Owens. Stefan Kuckinu is defending Candace Owens. Dave Kuckin is defending her, even though she's running a website that's the absolute antithesis of what all these people are supposed to be about. And I swear to God, when Social Autopsy launches, which will probably be in the next couple of months, she's going to take the money, she's going to run, and she's like, ha ha, you stupid alt-right neo-Nazis, I fooled you. Look at all this money. You thought I fooled you. All it takes is a mildly pretty face for a lot of these people to just, drop their britches and start cranking.
It amazes me how easily people are parted with their money, but
yeah, it's like I said, this whole sections of this corner of the internet are basically findom.
I'm not even sure if it qualifies. It's basically a right-wing version of. You remember that chick who was talking about give your money to women? Lauren Chief Elk, yeah, that's her name. Basically complaining that for all the emotional labor that women engage in and don't get paid for, show your appreciation for it by giving your money to women. Just give your money to women without anything in return. That's basically what this is. And granted, some of these people, like Lauren Southern, do put out some interesting content from time to time, but it's not in relation to their actual talent. If talent was being rewarded in the alternative media sphere right now, people like Rouge should be fucking millionaires. It wouldn't be some drugged out homosexual who's in debt up to his eyeballs due to his ketamine bill. Nor would it be a trust fund case from Dallas whose only notoriety is getting punched in the face.
Did we talk about Corey Feldman yet?
No.
We have not.
All right. So Corey Feldman, everyone knows back in the 80s, what was it? The two Corey, him and Hames, I guess. Corey Feldman for the longest time says that he had been molested by pedo rings in Hollywood, and a lot of child stars had. Supposedly, that's why he says that Hames killed himself. And I mean, it definitely seems that that's going on. You have a constant pattern of these child stars, going batshit insane a few years later. I mean, batshit insane. It goes far beyond just saying, well, they're, just a 19-year-old kid with stupid amounts of money, so they act a fool. I mean, that's kind of what like Justin Bieber did a few years ago. He acted like a jackass for a while and then calmed down because he was a 19-year-old kid with a buttload of money. But somebody like Shia LaBeouf has gone insane. Somebody like Amanda Bynes went fucking insane. They had gone insane. They had gone crazy. They had mental breakdowns. So yeah, it's easy to say that maybe that some sort of, there was some sort of thing they could no longer repress.
Didn't Elijah Wood come out and say that he had been assaulted?
Yes, a lot of them have said this. Now, they all refuse to name names. Now, supposedly Corey Feldman has started this GoFundMe where he's asking for fucking $10 million so that he can produce a film that will blow the lid off of all this stuff. Motherfucker, you don't need to make it a film. It can be a press conference, okay? We just need some names.
It could be a fucking blog post.
But if he can make some money...
I don't think he has much of anything to offer at this point. Because, I mean... This guy was diddled 30 years ago. Odds are the specific actors, no pun intended, involved in that probably aren't around that much anymore. His information's probably a little out of date. Now, if it were up to me, if I was, say, Trump, I'd just send some Justice Department boys to go work him over till his fucking memory's jogged, and we'll get this stuff sorted out. But no, just name names, motherfucker. If you're ready to name names, if you're going to stop being a fucking coward, then name names. You're not going to get a fucking payday off this, okay? Just go out there and do the right thing.
Well, I don't think he has any names. You know what this distinctly reminds me of? It reminds me of how, if you recall, back in 2010, there was that Democratic Congressman Eric Massa who suddenly resigned from Congress alleging political corruption. Rahm Emanuel is abusing people. There's a massive blow up, all this stuff. And then Glenn Beck invites him on for an hour to spill the beans in the Democratic leadership.
I remember that.
And then Massa just completely shits the bed. That's what this is.
I remember that interview.
Massa didn't have anything. Feldman doesn't have anything. He's just a lunatic who's trying to get attention.
I remember that. Glenn Beck actually looked at the camera and apologized for wasting the audience time. It was probably how I felt when I had your buddy Beardson on here, Matt. But when I had to just stop the stream and apologize for wasting everyone's time.
Best debate ever.
You talk about having... I have flashbacks to that. I'm going to have a mental breakdown one day from that. The ghost of it still haunts me.
Are you going to be the moderator, or are you just going to sit there? You can't say anything as a moderator.
Jesus. You're a moderator. You're not supposed to ask me questions. I'm just sitting there like, the fuck? 20 minutes of him calling Matt fat while Matt calls him gay. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck is my life? I honestly considered deleting the YouTube channel after that. I was like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm out.
I don't know.
Well, he's just getting attention. He's useless.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Anybody who gives this guy money at this point, you're being a fool. Okay, motherfucker shouldn't need more than $10 to do this. I'll buy you fucking lunch at Wendy's. Now tell me the name. And yeah, I don't think he has anything. I think he's just looking to get a payday and you know, and get the hell out of Dodge. You know, if he has any specific information, a lot of it's probably very, very out of date because it was 30 years ago when whatever director stuck his thumb in this guy's butthole. I will say, though, I think this stuff is going to be breaking in the next few months. This whole Harvey Weinstein, first of all, Hollywood's eating itself at this point over it. There's a lot of bandwagon jumping. I mean, half these accusations of sexual assault against this or that actor are probably fucking bullshit. A lot of it's probably actresses looking for paydays. I mean, everybody's being... Neil deGrasse Tyson got accused of it recently.
Black science guy.
Yeah, some people don't think the roofies be like they is, but they do. Like it's and you know what? I don't even think Neil deGrasse Tyson did anything. I still hope he gets his balls nailed to the wall over it because fuck him.
No, if he didn't do anything, then he shouldn't get.
Live by the liberalism, die by the liberalism. This is the future you guys chose.
You know, of course, what's funny is that, you know, all this stuff, they talk about all this nonsense happening. And then, you know, when Mike Pence is like, you know, I'm not going to be alone with a woman. I always want to have my wife with. They, like, you know, they poo-poo all over that. Oh, he's so backwards. He's so stupid. Meanwhile, Hollywood, you've got all these sexual scandals and everything happening, coming out. At least Pence knows how to protect himself.
I mean, basically, all these actresses are admitting to being prostitutes. That they were prostitutes, that they, you know, blatantly traded sexual favors for financial gain, and they're all being called brave. Oh, so you poor thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing that's stupid, is why people ever take anybody in Hollywood seriously whenever they talk about anything with morals, like, you know, the politics, everything like that. Like, my mom actually made a really good point about this, where she was like, you know, actors and actresses, they're blank slates. You know, they emote the way somebody tells them to emote. They say what somebody wrote for them to say. They're in the films that somebody tells for them to be in.
Yeah,
why should you listen to a blank slate?
They're glorified marionettes. I mean, their job is to read lines that someone else wrote that they may or may not even understand and fake the appropriate emotional response.
That the director tells them to have.
Yeah. Okay, you're feeling sad now. Look like you're sad. Like that nothing about that makes you qualified to talk to me about gun control or LGBTQ LMNOP issues or whatever other nonsense you want to talk about. Like, yes, I guess I'll just disarm myself because a whore told me. You know, Jennifer Lawrence wants to get out there and ramble on about, you know, all these issues. It's like there's pictures of your butthole on the internet.
But for some reason, whenever they speak, people take them seriously. And like I said, I don't know. I mean, that's why I know you're more optimistic. And I mean, I think it's going to hurt Hollywood, but I really don't think it's going to, like, really be the end of it or anything, or really do any substantive damage. I think far too many people are going to hop on the bandwagon. Nothing's really going to happen with it. And then people are just going to go back to it. I think if Hollywood dies, it's going to, you know, be a long, slow, painful death.
Well, I think things have shifted. I don't know exactly what's going to come about this. But what I do think is I think things have shifted. I think this is different than previous scandals. I think this is a turning point one way or another. And it feels that same way as when the Zoe Quinn scandal first broke. It feels like I get that same feeling I did when, you know, Trump's performance in that first debate during the primaries. I'm like, okay, things just shifted.
Yeah, but see, where's the community, right? Because in the Trump and in the Gamergate, there were two communities of people that were not engaged, but they were so heavily attacked by the media, that's what rallied them together. I mean, what woke Gamergate is when a lot of these people who were just sort of, apathetic to the media, and they were just sort of passively taking all the news, when they realized that, we're being lied about, we're being called despicable, we're being called, perverts, we're being called, bottom, basement dwellers, that kind of stuff by the media, they realized, what, if they're lying about us, maybe they lied about other people too. Same thing with Trump, where they're, half of them are being called deplorables, they're being called racist, they're being called bigots, all of that kind of stuff by the media, and that's what awoke them. But I don't see that same community of people who are being heavily persecuted with the Hollywood scandal. I just, like, who, again, moviegoers are dead. That's why I don't think it's the same in that sense, because I don't see those group of peoples that were asleep, but now they've awoken to it, and they're going to see how, they're going to be lied about and essentially, I hate to use the word persecuted, but for lack of a better word, persecuted.
What I see here is Hollywood. Hollywood is turned into a circular firing squad right now. It is that's too organized for this. It is turned into fucking Lord of the Flies. They are all eating each other right now. Every actress is accusing every actor of grabbing her butt at some point in hopes for some sort of sympathy and or big bucks. It's a feeding frenzy at this point. And then you combine that with, you go to every article talking about this or that latest thing, and it's nothing but commenters either rolling their eyes at the bandwagon hopping or saying this whole industry is a bunch of degenerate scumbags and should be burnt to the ground. I see shifts in opinions regarding Hollywood. I see absolute chaos in that industry right now of, they're just eating each other. It's the kind of chaos. Imagine like a swarm of zombies, and if you could flip a switch and make the zombies want to eat each other, imagine the fucking chaos and feeding frenzy that would ensue. That's what's going on now. Everybody is after everybody right now.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I think that's part of a larger problem on the left. The left is eating itself right now. And of course, Hollywood being such a leftist cesspit, it makes sense that, they would fall into that same category. And again, yeah, on the one hand, I see, again, I acknowledge that all of that's happening. And that's because the left doesn't have a particular cause to rally around right now. As soon as they find that cause that they can, they'll rally. That's just the way that they are. I mean, again, they don't have a gay cause. They don't have, fight poverty or anything like that. Again, the racist stuff is not taking off like they think it will or anything like that with the black people. They haven't been able to find something yet. The trans stuff people aren't rallying around that as much. They just got to find something that they'll rally behind. And then, like I said, I think they'll be more unified. They need more of an enemy. And the thing is just Trump is not enough of one right now. He's too busy triggering them.
Well, there's two things there. Number one, where I think it's already changed, is look, Hollywood doesn't have the social pull it used to. Hollywood used to, just the late night comedians alone used to be able to really shape political discourse. And they can't anymore, because all they do is just screech about Trump and nobody watches them. That video, like during the election, where all the fucking people from the Avengers movies and a bunch of other actors got together and said Trump is bad. Basically all the major stars from the biggest movie franchise in years got together to say don't vote for this guy, and it had no fucking effect. And that is awesome, Luke. Cool Cat 2020. That's the left needs to run. And it had no effect. Now, 10 years ago, something like that would have really shifted things. 20 years ago, certainly. But today, it has nothing. They've lost so much of their power.
No, I agree. Again, like I said, I agree with that. I think that's more of an issue with the left in general. I think the left has lost its credibility because of 8 years of Obama just being, terrible, and just having this media be so preachy and telling people this kind of stuff, like I said, I agree with you that things are shifting. I don't know if the sexual scandal is going to be enough to do that. And like I said, who knows how long the shift's going to last. I just think eventually things will shift back again, but pessimistic.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know how big of a thing it's going to be. I just feel like this is one of those things we're going to look back years from now and see that as a turning point.
You know, like I said, I don't know. Maybe I still don't think it's going to be as significant as Gamergate. Gamergate was a very important turning point. It is where a lot of the people who would eventually become involved in more of the alternative media really started getting involved and recognized how, deceptive, how just, dishonest the legacy media was.
Well,
it really showed their true colors in that.
Gamergate was the first successful pushback in the culture war in basically my lifetime. I sent British James an invite. I think it's British James. Maybe I got that. Somebody wanted to hop in. Yeah, it was British James. I think he just changed his name on Skype there. But yeah, I really see this as I don't know. I think this is gonna, and in some ways, I don't like all the feminist bullshit of it. I don't like the idea of, we're going to just take all these actresses seriously when they're whining about the fact that at worst they were highly paid prostitutes and we're going to act like this is fucking rape culture or something. When really, again, what we need to be talking about is the kids. That's where that's what I hope really gets exposed here. Because I'm not particularly upset about the fact that some, adult woman got casting couched. Big fucking deal. You knew what you were doing. You made your choice. It doesn't make it right, but, I'm not about to make a federal case out of it. But when, the star of the latest Nickelodeon show got casting couched, yeah, I'm about to make a federal case out of that.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that definitely should get exposed. And in that sense, if that could get it shut down, that would be amazing. Because
yeah, if the Harvey Weinstein stuff,
people know that it goes on, and it's terrible that it's allowed to continue to go on like that.
As I've said numerous times on here, I've certainly said it about the Catholic Church. I've said it about Penn State. Any organization that knowingly covers up for pedophilia in its ranks deserves to be burnt to the ground, and that certainly extends to movie studios. I love that image, Luke. Luke showed me that, and it was late night too one time after work, and he sent that to me on Facebook, and I honestly laughed for 2 minutes straight. That is the most perfect bit of insanity right there.
Cool Cat did 9/11.
Cool. British James, how's it going? Oh, go ahead.
Quite good.
Speaking of which, this is not to step all over you. This is the point where I got to make my exit because it's late here. But anyway, Bechtloff, thanks for having me on.
Oh, sure.
The rest of y'all have a good night.
Have a good night. I actually need to make my exit too, so hope you guys have a great
sure.
night. So not to leave when you first come on, British James. No offense to you. I was actually had to leave anyway, but thanks for having me on, Chris.
Yep, always welcome.
Yeah.
So, British James, have you heard the good word about our savior, Cool Cat, who saves the kids?
Well, Tom did ask about a quick rundown, and Forney did give a very good, concise example of what Cool Cat's about. But I was wondering, could any of you guys describe what happens in this film without giving me autism?
No, you can't, because literally, in order to remember what it's those memory games where it's they say a bunch of random words and you have to remember the order of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically describing Cool Cat's plot. Because here's a bunch of random things that happen, and you have to remember all of them in the order. There is no plot. There is nothing connecting at all.
Can I just say this? I've got 2 weeks off from work. Will I watch this film and not remember any of my holiday? Will I just wake up in a sort of empty ditch? It's shit, I've got work in 2 hours. I just watched Cool Cat.
You're gonna wake up with orange fur all over your shirt and your asshole hurting.
You know what these actually remind me of? They actually remind me of those Elsa and Spider-Man creepy kid cartoon play cartoons.
Oh my! It does have that vibe. It totally does have that vibe. Literally, describing the plot of Cool Cat Saves the Kids. Be prepared for the words "and then" a whole bunch of times. It's like if a 3-year-old was trying to tell you a story. It would just be a bunch of shit that happened. No connection to each other.
You mentioned you watched this actual review on Your Movie Sucks, but
No, that
did
one
this
I
go-
didn't watch. I watched I Hate Everything's review of it.
Oh, I hate everything. But is this like was this like a theatrical release? Did this get an actual
No, I
release
believe this
released?
was a straight to DVD release.
That's not a surprise.
The Oogie
Uh,
Loves got a theatrical release, but not Cool Cat.
I mean, what's the rating on this? Is this considered like a PG film or?
Is Spider-Man actually putting a pearl necklace in Elsa's mouth? Am I actually? Did they actually do that? And in one of those creepy ass pedo videos, they actually went with the pearl necklace.
I think he's pulling it out.
Oh, he's pulling it out of her mouth. Okay.
Well, the question is, who gave, who put the
Yeah, who
pearl
gave her
necklace
that pearl
in?
necklace is the real question.
And why does Spider-Man know about it?
Yeah, why is he pulling it out? Is he kind of a cuck there? Maybe Batman gave it to her because he's cooler?
Well,
I don't know.
explains it. Venom did just start its shooting today, so it does explain that.
God. You talk about another thing that needs to be heavily investigated. I haven't checked out investigating YouTube's channel in a while. I wonder how much more he's dug up on this. If he's figured out which fucking demon from hell is causing this.
Again, this sort of I don't want to say pedo word because we're talking about. I'm trying to remember what the name of those weird videos which you guys were talking about a while back on, sort of like, Elsa gets tooth surgery and has to get a fucking.
There was a bunch of
you know,
them, but then there was the
yeah.
Bad Baby Colors one, where
It's
like
like
the one where it's like
surreal.
like Blue Finger, where are you? Which I don't even want to go through the song again because I'll hear it in my nightmare tonight.
But the sort of surreal YouTube, I mean, some people are saying this could be just some sort of really low-paid Pajit making the same sort of video game style over and over again for sort of like, the fucking, what do they get paid in rupees? Fucking donuts? I don't know. But
Well,
they make the same shit over again, and that's why you've got so much of this shit on YouTube.
at the very least, I think part of it is that, but well, here's the thing. The one thing I said when I had investigating YouTube on here about it, I said, like, what I really like about his videos is while he touches on some of the conspiracy stuff that may or may not be behind it, he doesn't make that the main focus. The main focus of his videos is this shit is going on and it is clearly harmful to children and we should stop it. Because at the end of the day, whether or not this is just some accident of content farming or this is the, reptilian Jewsians from the demon dimension doing this to us, it's bad and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
And once we do that, then we'll figure out who's responsible and possibly punish them.
It's honestly oddball. It's one of when I did send you a message on Skype, Weinstein seems to be the sort of case of the biggest surprise to me about Weinstein is everyone acting surprised about the worst kept secret in Hollywood. That seems to be the massive mystery.
In all fairness, I've kind of seen that play before because I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s when the Catholic Church scandals broke in a big way. And I remember specifically Hannity, but a bunch of other Catholic guys out in the media acting fucking shocked, like it wasn't the biggest joke in the world for decades. So that's just a common thing. Yeah, they knew. They obviously knew. Everybody knew. But, oh my God, I don't believe it.
It's basically pearl clutching. You can't.
I would respect it more if you just admit it. Like, look, I suspect it like everybody else did, but what was I going to do?
Yeah. I mean,
maybe that's not the most honorable position, but I can respect that.
Yeah. I think at this point, a lot of these people aren't necessarily saying, and it's even worse, they're not saying it out of a genuine sort of honesty or heart that I knew these victims. It's like they mentioned it to their agents, and their agent said, okay, say this, because this is what's going to sound the best. Because honestly, if someone was to say, I kind of knew this, but I knew if I said anything of it, I would have probably end up in a ditch, and my death would have been mentioned on fucking like E! Tonight or.
In all fairness, that's basically what Seth MacFarlane said, and I respect the hell out of him for it. He said, like, look, there's a reason I made that joke when I was hosting the Oscars. I knew it was going on. We all knew it was going on, But you know, I didn't have anything concrete. What was I going to do about it?
Yeah, you'd have been you'd have been the equivalent of Corey Feldman, and now he's been essentially vindicated. Although he's acting a bit of a fucking idiot now, with asking for 10 million to make a film about things which most people now suspect.
If I was going to go hyper, like super tinfoil hat and all, I'd say that somebody got to Feldman and told him to act a fool just to discredit the whole thing.
Or maybe he's been, to be more crudely, fucked so badly, he's just a mass. I mean, has he actually done anything outside of The Burbs and Stand By Me?
Not in a long time. I don't believe he's been in much anything in
I
years.
think he's just I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong in what he's saying, but maybe he's just that badly damaged. You shouldn't be surprised in his sort of thinking. Maybe he's just that messed up. You can't blame him for thinking, oh yeah, give me 10 million, I'll give you I mean, 10 million. I mean, Moon, one of my favorite films of all time, which looks amazing, cost 5 million. What are you going to do?
You talk about a documentary in which basically, like, okay, yeah, you need some research, maybe some travel budget, but you can. I mean, American Pie cost $11 million to make, and most of that was the salaries. You know, I mean, you can make. You know, Clerks cost $2 million to make, for example. And most of that was fucking marketing.
Wait, you sure Clerks cost that much? I thought it was a lot less.
It might have been. I think I had remembered here.
Maybe
it was Mallrats that cost $2 million, now that I think about it.
I think Mallrats, because I know
Mallrats was the one that cost $2 million. Clerks was less than that. You're right. You're right. I had to mix up in my head.
I heard a tangent. If Clerks 3 does get made, Kevin Smith wanted to do it on the same budget as Clerks 1, which was something like it was either 33,000 or 330,000. And seeing as it was shot on like 35 mil black, I could see it being made for 33,000.
Well, moving on. I know you wanted to talk about some Halloween movies, and I kind of do too. So, one of the ones I was watching here recently, it's so much better than people give it credit for. The original Return of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah.
Now, the story, for those of you that don't know, is this is not a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead. In fact, Night of the Living Dead is actually a movie that exists in this universe that is sort of loosely based off of the first outbreak of zombies that the government covered up. But basically, like, these guys working in this like lab, mortuary, or whatever, they accidentally release this gas, and this gas reanimates the dead. And that's how this stuff broke out. So it reanimates this one corpse, which they burn, and then the gas gets up into the clouds and has a rainstorm, which then seeps into the ground of a graveyard, and a bunch of zombies raised from the dead like that. What's really interesting about the Return of the Living Dead stuff is, the zombies are way more indestructible, essentially. You have to basically completely destroy them.
I was thinking this film quite recently, and I'm going to add one point. A lot of people trying to credit 28 Days Later for the running zombies. No, this film did running zombies first. Return of the Living Dead, I'm being honest, I was looking into Dan O'Bannon. If you know, this guy essentially made the Alien franchise. The guy who did Return of the Living Dead, he wrote and directed this film. And it was a fucking nightmare to do this film. He said he's never going to eat. Like, if you were talking about directing a film, Return of the Living Dead is not how you direct a film, because he fucked up massively. But it is still a great film.
Oh, yeah.
But Return of the Living Dead has got some great tropes to it. It's got running zombies. It's got, like... It's honestly one of those films where I would put it up there with Evil Dead 2 in terms of quality, in terms of sort of horror comedy.
It's the first one that had, like, zombies that retained some semblance of their intelligence and personality. And it was the first one where they eat specifically brains. And the reason behind it, this is a scene right here where they're interrogating like this half of a zombie corpse, which is amazing practical effects.
Oh, it's creepy.
The one thing that's really interesting is her eyes are very bright and expressive, which on one level you could argue a corpse that rotted, I mean, you know, there almost shouldn't be fucking eyes in there in the first place, let alone ones that fresh looking. but they're actually interrogating her, and you almost come across like a bit of an emotional connection to this poor thing, really. And the expressive eyes were very necessary. It might not have been the most quote-unquote realistic thing, but for the emotional resonance of the scene, it was very, very necessary.
It makes sense.
They're interrogating her, and they ask her, like, at first, the guy's like, he wants to examine her, and he leans in a bit, and he goes, "You can hear me?" And she goes, "Yes." And he goes, "Why do you eat people?" And she goes, "Not people, brains." And he goes, "Oh, brains only. Okay, why?" And she goes on, "The pain." And he's like, "What about the pain?" And she goes, "The pain of being dead. I can feel myself rot." And I mean, he gets up nervously and looks around at the other people, and he goes, it hurts to be dead, kind of laughing nervously. And then he says something, he goes, what? And he goes, "In the brains, what does that do?" And he goes, "That makes the pain go away." Now, the sort of pseudoscience behind this, of the gas basically kind of reanimates nerve cells, and that's why the zombies are in such constant pain, and then eating a brain sort of dulls that pain, sort of thing. I mean, there's an internal logic to it. Never mind how scientifically sound it is. It at least makes some sense until you think about it too much, But what is also really disturbing about it, because these zombies, they retain human wit for the most part. Some of them are kind of dumb, and kind of weaker. You can attribute that to their decayed state. But they have at least some semblance of their personality, just corrupted by the hunger, almost like a vampire in that regard.
There's some weird zombie, like when you talk about sort of retaining sort of the original person who's just been killed. It's not like a zombie where it just becomes that brain dead. There's like, for example, in the first act of the film, you've got the guy, sort of the sort of assistant manager, and you've got the sort of punk kid. They get hit with the gas.
Yeah,
but
they
the punk
turn
kid,
later.
They slowly turn over the film. And
that's
the assistant manager,
so perfect at the end. At the end, when they finally turn, the punk kid, he just tries to go and attack the other people, including his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But the guy, the older guy, the more responsible guy, he actually restrains himself and goes downstairs to where the incinerators are for the bodies, and like pulls out the tray and gets ready to put himself in the incinerator rather than allow himself to be this way. And there's a scene where he takes his wedding ring off and kisses it and puts it on the counter.
It's really good.
But one of the things that's really creepy about this movie, and I watched it again just a couple days ago, and it really struck with me why this movie, it's always creeped me out a lot more than a lot of other horror movies. Very unsettling, and I couldn't put my finger on why. It almost has that Reanimator approach where it almost approaches life itself as merely a chemical reaction. So there's almost a bit of an atheistic vibe to it, where, when the guy nervously chuckles, "It hurts to be dead," it really viscerally gets to humanity's fear of death. Like, what awaits us? Are we just to rot in the ground? Are we perhaps even damned? What awaits us after death? So there's that visceral fear, and you combine that with the fact that the zombies as a force, because they're intelligent, because they're so indestructible, are almost as inevitable as death itself. These, much more than other types of zombies, become perfect stand-ins for just humanity's instinctful fear of death. Like, there's a scene where, like, the cops show up or something.
They get overrun.
The zombies attack the cops, right? And then, it's a famous cliche at this point, but the one zombie gets on the radio in the cop car and says, "Send more cops." Well, then you see more cops show up, and the one cop is standing there, and he's got a half zoned out look on his face, and he's got, like, his hat's kind of on weird with, like, the little rain cap over it and all.
Yeah.
And clearly, like, they've ripped fucking brains out of his head, and he's just waving them there. And then when they stop, he, along with all the other zombies that were hiding, goes and rushes them. Like, he's now working against his former colleagues essentially. It's really it's far scarier than it has any right to be, because at times it is very funny and very goofy.
It's
But at times
unnerving.
it is unnerving is the perfect word for it.
It's
yeah, there it is.
like-
Look at the look on his face, right? As he's waving them in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird film, and I think it was only recently. I'll go back to Dan O'Bannon because he's a very interesting character. He practically run the entire set for Dark Star, that fucking 2001 parody that John Carpenter did, and he did Alien, pretty much all the groundwork. So when you see Ridley Scott go around and claim he's got all the groundwork for Alien, no, it was this guy. I think it was also he actually gave an example, the chestburster scene. He actually got that inspired by his own Crohn's disease, which ended up killing him in '09. So we're talking about a guy who's gone quite far, but recently had a lot of his sort of script making stuff released by a former student. And when you look at sort of Return of the Living Dead, it's a weird case where I've not like I can watch Evil Dead 2, but I don't feel unnerved by it. I can think it's a good film. Obviously, I can watch like Evil Dead 1. There's points where you've got that sort of clench where it's like pencil in the ankle. I can't fucking stand such a scene. But something like Return of the Living Dead, it does sort of, as you say, it's unnerving.
And the second one I don't think does that nearly as well. The second one in many ways is just a rehash of the first.
Oh yeah, and
I will say there's this one scene that is especially unnerving where this boyfriend has like turned. They're like boarded up in a church, and he's been infected with the gas, and he turns and he's trying to eat his girlfriend's brain, right?
Mm.
And finally, she just gives up resisting him, right? And there's a scene where like he's biting the top of her head, and there's this brief scene where she's like in pain, and then there's this brief moment in her eyes where it looks almost like sexual pleasure to her.
Mm.
That is just extremely disturbing. Yeah, there's the guy, send more cops. And
send more paramedics.
Yeah. That's actually if you in DC Comics that Blackest Night storyline that spilled out of the Green Lantern books where the Black Rings were bringing back the dead. It very much acted like a Return of the Living Dead storyline in that, there were moments before we figured out their weakness where these things were almost indestructible. There were moments in there where I was, in that comic book, I was actually kind of scared. Like, holy shit, what are you going to do? What do you do in that situation? That's fucking scary. And there's even a line in there where one of the Green Lantern rings, when Green Lanterns would die, they normally just go find a new host. Well, the Guardians like stopped doing that for a while during that Blackest Night thing because they were like, all right, we know what's going on here. This is a bad idea. And then the one Green Lantern's like, yeah, it's like in that zombie movie where they said send more cops.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that scene right there in the second one, there's like a scene where like right after that, you cut up on her face and she's like screaming. And then like she looks like she's like sexually getting off on it for a brief second. And it's, I mean, it's disturbing, and I honestly think it was meant to be that way. But, yeah, the first one's really good. The second one, the third one has that weird fetishy stuff in it, where it's kind of abandoned the whole eating brains aspect of it.
It was fucking weird. I can barely remember the sequels, but the first one is still vivid.
The first one's good. The third one's good for the weird direction it takes. I mean, the second one's just a weaker version of the first. And then there's like the fourth and fifth ones. I think there might even be the sixth one where they're basically like that's the one where in the third one, this guy's girlfriend dies in a motorcycle accident riding around with him. She breaks her neck, and he knows that his father like works in his military base with that. And he's actually seen him experimenting on that triaxin gas. So he brings her back to life. And for some reason, she is able to suppress her hunger by causing herself pain, which is completely the opposite of what's established in the other movies. Yeah. Other than being able to rot, it's not even established these things can feel pain in the other movies. But if she basically she's a cutter.
Yeah.
Like she cuts herself to suppress her hunger and all, and it'll give you quite the fear erection watching that movie.
Yeah, but you got that in the first film though. I mean, it's like you've got the chick that just can't not have her clothes on. It's like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah, the
my
chick that's
dream is to have old people eat me alive, and it's like she walks out the cemetery to that fucking bum, and she's basically like perfect, just pale.
yeah. Well, the last sequels, I think it was the very last sequel, and this is almost, it shows you how far the franchise has fallen. The last sequel, the last scene in it is this zombie that almost kind of looks like the Tar Man. He's all slimy and gooey and black, and he's holding a sign that like says like the rave or bust, I think it was, or something like that, or wherever he was going. And like the one car like kind of gets up towards him, but then sees him and then like screams and drives away. And he just throws the sign down, like giving up, and starts walking away into the fucking horizon, just all sad, like, ah, oh, fuck, nobody likes me anymore. And it's almost like the movie itself is admitting, like, yeah, we're done.
That's like Looney Tunes level fucking comedy.
Yeah, but the first one is a damn solid horror flick. The third one is interesting. I would actually say the third one's really worth seeing, but that's the one. And then like he just sort of gives up, like walks toward it. And they're playing some sad country music song too as he's doing it, like walking off into the horizon.
I was actually going through some of my older. I did watch 2 John Carpenter flicks I didn't get the chance to watch. One was Escape from LA. The other was Vampires with James Woods. And I'll say Escape from LA is solid. I don't see why people shun it over in New York, but Vampires is so bad it's good. It's that. I don't know if you've seen it, but honestly, it's worth a watch just for James Woods being a massive cunt. It's like there's points where he's bullying like a Catholic priest, like for maybe 2/3 the film, so you might like it.
But yeah, Return of the Living Dead is it's a very interesting. I actually watched. There's a really good documentary on the making of like the first 2 or 3 of them, or something like that. But
the first was meant to have a really bad. Again, it was Dan O'Bannon's first film. It's not. Again, he's a very good writer, but he doesn't. He'll admit, he doesn't make a good film. He doesn't. Like, for example, have you ever seen Dark Star? It's worth a watch. It's a good sort of. I mean, this was I think this would have been John Carpenter's first proper film just before Halloween. It's worth a watch. Again, it's a bit weak, but you can see it's not a bad project. And with something like Return of the Living Dead, you're looking at a film which is, I mean, it's on par with Evil Dead 2 in terms of horror to comedy. It's certainly my top 5 when it comes to horror.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of the best, and it's definitely one of the best horror comedies. I mean, you almost got to go with like Evil Dead 2 or Gremlins or something to even be on par.
Yeah, you're talking about at least, if you're going to talk about top 5 horror comedies, you've got Evil Dead 2, Return of the Living Dead, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is a fantastic film.
I've not seen it in a while. I'll admit that I've not seen it in a while, but I do like God, what's his name in it? Fucking
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. What was the other film I had in my mind? There's a fair amount actually. Again, I was going through some of my old repertoire of sort of horror films I did watch, and I'm starting to go through some of the Friday the 13th films, and I'm being honest. Even with for example, I don't know if you're following James Rolfe sort of re-uploads. A lot of those films have not fucking aged well.
Friday the 13th films, I think, are actually not very good at all.
Like he's not that, like, if you were to look at like the Nightmare on Elm Street films have aged somewhat better.
Oh, they've aged way better. I mean, I actually, for my Halloween stream, which I was going to do one like the night before Halloween, just, after midnight, so it's technically on Halloween. But I don't know if she'll have time because she is busy, but I was going to have an artist friend do like the Virgin versus Chad meme, where it's the Virgin Jason versus the Chad Freddy. Because I mean, like, I actually have that. I actually have that exact little fucking pop guy too. I don't get a lot of the pops, but I just love Freddy.
He's when you I hate to interrupt, but when you see lists of top 5 or top 10 horror characters, honestly, Jason Voorhees is a meme.
Jason's not
Michael Myers. I would take Michael Myers over Jason Voorhees.
Jason is a cool character design once he finally gets to his hockey mask, but he's not even much of a character. He's barely intelligent. He almost possesses little more than basic animal cunning.
Well, he's more of a twist because that's the whole point of the first film. It's like, oh shit! It's like here's his mother in the end, and but he is actually in the film. And remember, his hockey mask doesn't come into the third film. It's like, how many films do you have to like? Freddy as a character was defined by the first film, and then obviously released properly by the end. You saw his character. It's one of those. The problem with a lot of these characters, because they're pop culture, you've seen basically the most popular form. But when you actually sit down and watch the film, same with even like take for example when you guys were talking about TNG, everyone's like, oh yeah, we've all seen a good episode of TNG, but have you ever sat down through the season? It's like, no, you don't. It's not comfortable.
No,
you'll see in every episode. It's like getting hit with a baseball bat with each episode, and every now and then you get hit with, I don't know, a fluffy pillow. Well, yeah, that was a good episode.
When it comes to Friday the 13th movies, I honestly think that the best one, I mean, first of all, the best one in my opinion is Freddy vs. Jason, because it's got fucking Freddy in it. And then the one I'm most likely to enjoy the most after that is Jason X, because it's just completely fucking bananas and I love it. You know, it's like Jason's in space and he's fighting a robot dominatrix, and then he gets nanites in him and he becomes Super Jason, and fuck you. But the actual best one, in my opinion, is that sort of reboot they did a few years ago, just called Friday the 13th. But I say sort of because even though everyone said it was a reboot, I didn't know that going in it, and nothing about it seemed like a real reboot. It seemed like just a back-to-basic sequel.
Yeah.
Like, everything about it could have just taken place after Freddy vs. Jason.
Well, that's the thing. He's still a meme character. I mean, I'm trying to remember what really. I know. I think Halloween was it 78, 79? That's still the earliest slasher flick. So Friday the 13th isn't doing anything unique. It's just, instead of being in sort of I don't know, suburbs, it's basically in a fucking camp. That's the only different thing it does.
Yeah, I mean, really, it isn't even towards like later sequels until Jason actually returns from the dead and has supernatural powers. He's basically just a retard running around stabbing people before that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in the later movies, he's got these weird sort of almost fucking luck powers about him, where everything just goes his way, and he's a regenerating undead fucking monster that can't be permanently killed. That's kind of interesting, but it takes like fucking 14 fucking movies to get to that point.
Yeah,
I mean, he's basically like a less compelling version of Michael Myers before that.
Yeah, I mean, at least Michael, regardless of the sequel Rob Zombie did to Halloween, I didn't think the first one was that bad of his films. That actually, tell a lie, that's one film series I wouldn't mind doing a watch. I've seen the first one. I wouldn't mind seeing the second. And that was the one thing which John Carpenter said he wanted to do. When he did Halloween in mind, he wanted to do sort of a series of films, not an actual sort of Michael Myers does 12 films. He wanted to. That's where everyone takes the piss with the third film. It's like, oh shit! It's like an evil company trying to kill kids with Halloween fucking dolls or whatever.
It ends up being one of the best ones in the series, accidentally.
Yeah. And it's like,
it would have been better if they would have all been like, you know what would have been like, there's scenes in the Halloween 3 when they're like referencing the Halloween movie. But it would have been better if these were just unrelated stories that all took place in the same universe and maybe had little ties to each other here and there.
Yeah, a tiny little hint, like a different. Like the US is a big place, and mind you, any horror film you're going to do is going to be set in the US. So I'm trying to remember when Mike. I think Halloween is. I know. Actually, this was the interesting thing. James Rolfe was actually going through the locations on Friday the 13th. I think it was New Jersey for Friday the 13th, and then they changed the location in the sequels to like California. I don't know. But as I say, with the states, I'll have to find a map for maybe Luke to show. But someone had a good
Luke just
map.
put this up, A Christmas Horror Story. I watched that on Netflix last year, and I highly recommend it. I don't even. It's basically an anthology of a bunch of little Christmas horror stories that are all tied together, and they're fantastic. I highly. I don't even want to tell you guys about it because there's some twist in there. I don't even want to get close to fucking ruining, but I cannot emphasize enough. If you have Netflix, it's probably still on there. Fucking watch that.
Oh, I've seen that. I'll have to catch that.
I was trying to watch the Krampus movie, which wasn't on Netflix last year, and that came up, and I just gave it a shot instead, and I'm damn glad I did. It was great.
Yeah, I've heard Krampus is meant to be good.
I don't know. I haven't seen Krampus, but this one was good. What was I going to say before that? Oh, well, the one thing with like Michael Myers, and don't get me wrong, I like the first two Halloween movies a lot, but the problem with taking somebody like Michael Myers and then doing like 14 fucking sequels with it, it's not like Freddy. Like Freddy is a monster that, walks the astral planes and shit. You can send that guy to hell and it's conceivable he eventually claws his way back out. Same with Jason. By the last few movies, he's this regenerating magical undead killer zombie thing, That makes sense. You put him down, but eventually he gets back up. Well, Mike Myers is just a dude. Okay. Yeah. And I can just sit like if I knew Mike Myers was coming to kill me, I'd just sit here with a shotgun and wait for him to come through the door, and he's fucking dead. Because he's just gonna come through the fucking door with a knife, and I'm gonna shoot him with a shotgun, he's gonna be dead. You know what I mean?
That's the interesting thing, because I know I've mentioned this before, the Halloween film they're doing next year, they've mentioned in articles with Carpenter and oh god, what's his name? Danny McBride. The two things they're doing is they're retconning everything except the first film. So even the second film is not going to be part of this new film. The second thing is they want to explicitly make this guy is not superhuman. He is just another man.
You always figured the quote-unquote superhuman strength from him just came from the fact that he was so batshit crazy he felt no pain, essentially. You know what I mean?
Well, most
he felt no pain and he felt no fear, which makes him pretty formidable in that regard. But at the same time, whether you're afraid of it or whether or not it hurts you, a shotgun to the gut is going to put you down.
Oh yeah. Well, for most of the film, it's essentially like a stealth game. He's sort of like eluding. Like, I'm being honest, if you're not going to know someone with a chef's knife is going to come at you until the last second, regardless of the person's strength, you're probably fucked if that guy's got a knife on you within the last second. So Mike Myers is like the ultimate sort of boogeyman, sort of you open the closet and he comes out. With Jason Voorhees, it doesn't matter if there's a fucking closet. The guy's got a machete and he's like 7 foot tall.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, yeah, if fucking Mike Myers kicked my door in right now and I wasn't prepared for him, he's probably going to smoke my ass. But at the same time, if I've dealt with him 14 times already and I know he's coming, I'm just going to have my little shotgun under the fucking bed or my 45 or something. I'm going to kill this motherfucker. I mean, hell, Kevin McAllister, given enough prep time, could take out Mike Myers. The Home Alone kid could defeat this guy with enough prep time.
Oh God.
In fact, that would actually that's a movie that needs to be made.
I can't take the prep time seriously. It's like they used to joke around on some of the forums you used to post. It's like, oh yeah, Batman could take anyone down. Just give him enough prep time. He'll take Superman down.
I know. That's kind of it's become the prep time thing.
The only thing I was going to say in terms of horror films, I suppose it counts. I'm not sure if you've mentioned Cameron is apparently dead certain for doing the hopefully last Terminator film. Which is weird because he's doing like 3 Avatar films. I don't know how he's going to find time for that. Like, he's actually enthusiastic, and that's the weird thing.
So we said in the chat says, "Nah, have Kevin fight a Hollywood producer." Yeah, it's Kevin's keeping Harvey Weinstein out of the house.
God.
Okay, a
Oh,
bunch
no,
of people in the chat want me to ban somebody. Apparently,
Oh, Jimmy Johnson. He's lovely. No, don't ban him. Actually, here's a great horror film. I recommended this to you last year. Kevin Smith's Yoga Hosers. Did you watch it?
yoga hosers. No, I
Oh
didn't.
God. Oh, you didn't watch it? My God. I sent a link to Undertone. He actually went pale.
I saw he did that Tusk movie where like the crazy guy kidnaps a guy and like surgically alters him to look like a walrus.
I've not seen that. Well, it wouldn't. Well, Yoga Hosers. How do I put it? It has his kid, and it has Johnny Depp's kid. So basically, it's a vanity project. So that's one strike in terms of how fucking bad it's going to be. But I sent basically Kevin Smith plays a Nazi sausage, which terrorizes his own kid in a film. Like, there's no way I could describe the film in any other way. And basically, his kid and Johnny Depp's kid learns yoga to defeat it. I think. I've not seen the film because I'm still alive, but that's the last film he's done. That's Kevin Smith. That's Kevin Smith's biography. It's sad because I'm being honest, I like Clerks. Clerks 2 is better than it should be. Jay and Silent Bob is better than it should be by a mile.
I mean, I used to love Kevin Smith a lot more than I do now. Back when I was a teenager, I thought he was the shit. But I think Clerks is a really good movie. I think Mallrats is incredibly underrated. It's damn near my favorite. Chasing Amy is pure dog shit. I liked Dogma back in my, God-hating agnostic fucking fedora days. Nowadays, I'm considerably less impressed with it. It's not terrible as far as films like that go, but yeah, I'm much less impressed with it. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I mean, you basically completely have to be a fan of the previous movies. You have to be a Kevin Smith fan to get anything out of it because it's nothing but callbacks. It's nothing but fan service essentially. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with that, but whatever. The Clerks cartoon's probably one of the best things he ever did, outside of some of his actual superhero comic book work, like Green Arrow and Daredevil. And by the way, Kevin Smith actually wrote some amazing Green Arrow and Daredevil stories. Clerks 2, I think, is really, really funny.
Oh yeah.
Clerks 2 is outstanding. So I mean, really, it's Clerks, it's Mallrats, and it's Clerks 2 as far as the ones I would actually recommend to somebody. Clerks 2 is funny as hell, man. Porch Monkeys for Life. Porch Monkeys for Life still makes me fucking laugh.
I think the entire talking about fucking Lord of the Rings is worthy.
Oh, dude, that's so fucking great.
Even the trees fucking walk in those movies.
Yeah, the movie's nothing but people walking to somewhere for fucking 9 hours total. Even the trees walked in that movie.
The Sam Frodo suckfest.
Oh yeah, that movie is
basically Clerks is how you imagine when you're a kid the perfect retail job, just earning a few bucks. That's how ideally that's what Clerks is when it comes to a kid. It's you shooting the shit with someone who is moderately interesting. Because even then, when you look at the first Clerks film, you got Dante and fucking I forget the second guy. What's the second blonde guy?
Jay. I know Dante
Jay.
and
Dante's is the main guy. Randall. Yeah, Dante and Randall. That's like the essential sort of bit of a dickhead, but very interesting guy you're going to be talking to. Because again, most kids are going to be doing retail shit to earn a few bucks, and that's the whole dilemma you get of Clerks. It's like shit, these guys are still doing this sort of shit, and they're in their like mid to late 30s.
The Clerks cartoon's fucking fantastic too. Oh, dude, I love the episode where like they say like the ending got lost on the way to the Korean animation studio, so the Koreans just finished it themselves, and it turns into just a bunch of animu nonsense. Where they're like, it turns into like anime style. They get in a car, and like this Korean announcers are like, "Who is driving car? Oh my God, Bear's driving. How can that be?" And it's just a bear driving the car, and then like one of the cars turns into like, oh no, like a transformer turns into a car. People get into it, and it drives somewhere and turns into a robot again. But the people don't get out, so you see them all crushed in it.
Oh, it's quotable. It's like, I was going to say with could Luke get any sort of collaboration of Pickle Fucker and Pickle Rick up from Clerks 2?
Oh yeah, the pickle fucker. I've actually been to the Quick Stop a couple of times, like out in New Jersey. Like it's still out there.
New Jersey.
Like I've been to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash a few times, like the comic book store.
Yeah.
Which, for being a nationally famous comic book store owned by a millionaire Hollywood star, you would think it would be this really big comic book store, this amazing place. It's all right. Like it's great if you want Kevin Smith fucking merchandise. It's fucking great then. You know, it's great if you want to issue a Green Arrow signed by fucking Kevin Smith. It's great. But if you just want to issue a Green Arrow, you're kind of shit out of luck. It's got almost no back issue bin. And it's really not that great. But it is worth checking out if you're at all a fan of the guy or whatever. And actually, Red Bank, New Jersey is kind of a cool little town. There's a bunch of cool little shit there actually to see. And yeah, I've been to the actual place where they filmed Clerks. It's interesting. Again, I want to like Kevin Smith more than I do, but he's just such a fucking tool bag sometimes.
Well, it's essential case of don't meet your hero because you're going to be massively disappointed.
Oh, dude, the guy who runs Kevin Smith's comic book store, fucking Walt Flanagan. They did the reality show Comic Book Men on AMC.
I remember that. I did watch.
Honest to God, when I used to do the stand at that flea market, not once but two different fucking occasions, Walt Flanagan just randomly shows up and buys some books.
What?
Like he just was traveling or whatever. I don't fucking know. But like, and I mean, it's a good 4-hour drive probably from Red Bank to where we were, at least. But he just randomly, I guess he just travels to flea markets and all looking for stuff or whatever. But what was funny was the one time we're sitting there and we're just rambling on about like talking about, I didn't even notice him out there. He's like digging through our dollar bin or something. And we're just rambling on about like Star Trek The Next Generation shit. And we're talking about like the holodeck. And we're like, can you got to imagine that like somebody has to hose jizz off the holodeck all periodically. Cause you know people are using it for porn, right? You just know that. You just know like you know that's happening a lot. So they got to send some poor ensign once in a while to hose the jizz off.
Well, they got to keep morale up on Voyager. I mean,
yeah. So and then I'm like, so can you imagine being the poor ensign that's got to mop the? And it was almost like a Kevin Smith bit because I even said jizz mopper, But I'm like, you got to be the fucking jizz mopper at the fucking holodeck, and he comes up to the counter like ready to check out, and he's like, oh dude, that's hilarious, that Star Trek thing you were talking about. And I'm like, thanks. And then I look up and I'm like, wait, are you Walt Flanagan? And he's like, yeah. And I was teasing him. I'm like, you better not be stealing my story for your show.
Well, I sent Luke this picture. Here's a picture of Kevin Smith eating a block of cheese.
The hologram just got a new sex program. Walt Flanagan's pretty cool, though. I will say, though, like by and large, Kevin Smith's comic book store is really not that great of a destination. It's nowhere. I have been to it a couple of times, and the way it looks on the show, it looks way better than it actually does. It's amazing how they film it to look so much bigger and better than this store actually is.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember watching. As I say, I did watch a couple of the episodes of the show, and it's like they make a big epic thing about some guy spending $60 on Transformers sort of toy. Like, I can imagine that going out in real life. It's just not that interesting.
Yeah, it's really not.
So,
I mean, people drop dumb amounts of money. Like literally, I've had customers back when I used to do that stand. I remember one time, like every once in a while, customers would come in and just like go to our dollar bin where it was like, $6 each or 6 or 5 and drop $70, $80 in the dollar bin alone. In fact, I remember one time this woman came out and almost cleared. We had this long box full of Superman comics in the dollar bin, and this woman like probably bought half of them because her husband was getting deployed or something, and she wanted to like periodically, like, because he was a big Superman fan. He was in the like National Guard or some shit. He was going over to Iraq. She was gonna like periodically like fucking mail him comic books the whole time he was out there, which I thought was really sweet. Well, yeah, she bought like half her fucking Superman. She spent like $100 in fucking dollar books, easy. Kevin Smith just eating a block of cheese.
I'm not sure if it's. Yeah, that's the weird thing, though. I don't know if it was Photoshop, because if you look at his sort of trouser legs, it looks like he's floating.
Well, that's I wouldn't doubt it. I'm going to tell a bad story about Kevin Smith because this is one of the reasons, like, I just can't like the guy as much as maybe you would think I should. Aside from a bunch of liberal BS that, lots of fucking Hollywood types have. But Kevin Smith is a fantastic superhero comic book writer. He did an amazing Daredevil story, Guardian Devil. He did actually did his story afterwards on Daredevil too. It was pretty good. I think he introduced the character Echo. Or maybe that was Bendis. I don't fucking know, whatever. But he did an amazing Green Arrow story. And then he did a Spider-Man Black Cat miniseries and I remember it because at the time it was a big deal. This was like 02 or 01 or something. It was probably 02. He came on Leno, and he came on Leno because him and Leno were friends, and they used to just hang out a lot. But he came on Leno ostensibly to promote that comic book that was coming out the next day. And I just thought it was so cool that an actual Marvel comic is getting promoted on Leno back at the time. And it was a good miniseries, don't get me wrong. But there was like a couple months delay between issues 2 and 3. And then there was an over 3-year delay between issues 3 and 4. Because his fat ass couldn't be bothered to finish the script. Because he was lazy. He was a lazy fuck. And he started in issue 1 of a Daredevil miniseries called The Target. That is, to my knowledge, the first miniseries to ever be canceled. Issue 1 came out and no other issues ever came out. Because he never finished it. Now, during this 3 years, fans were getting pissed off at him. And he actually reached a point where, like, if he was doing a panel at a Comic-Con, he'd make you pay extra to go into that panel to try and get the haters out of there. But like people were still asking him, like, why won't you finish the book? Why are you sitting here at this Comic-Con instead of fucking finishing the script? Why are you making shitty movies like Jersey Girl that no one wants to see instead of finishing this script? People were asking him these questions. And he was getting pissier and pissier about it. And he said some of the most obnoxious fucking shit I ever heard.
Did he blame Gamergate on this?
No, but damn near as obnoxious. This is what he said. He said, no one got mad at Brian Hitch for his delays on the Ultimates comics, and no one got mad at Michael Turner for his delays on Fathom. Now, there's two things. Brian Hitch was the artist on the Ultimates. Now, I'm not going to say being the artist is harder than being the writer, but it's definitely more time-consuming. Roughly speaking, an artist a good rate for a professional comic book artist is about a page a day. Whereas a writer, if he's got an inspiration, can bang out a 6-issue fucking story arc over a weekend. You know what I mean? Now, also, people were mad at Brian Hitch. People were giving him a lot of shit. But he was working as fast as he could. He was constantly apologizing for delays, and his work was extremely good. Now, the Fathom thing, Michael Turner was both the writer and the artist. And I would also like to add that the reason Michael Turner had a significant delay, after Fathom number 13 or whatever it was because he was battling fucking cancer. Kevin Smith compared his fucking battles with sitting on the couch watching Law and Order with Michael Turner battling cancer, a cancer, I might add, that would come back a few years later and kill the man. A few years after he said this. That's the hateful, obnoxious shit Kevin Smith said. As people were getting mad at him for being a lazy fuck and not doing his job, he said, yeah, well, I mean, that guy, no one got mad at him. Yeah, because he has fucking cancer, you fat fuck. Then, to my knowledge, Smith never apologized for that obnoxious shit either. He did eventually finish that Black Cat miniseries, and it was a decent read. It just wasn't worth the 3-year fucking wait between issues or his cunty fucking attitude.
How many blocks of cheese do you think he went through?
Yeah, how many? That picture might have been taken while he was supposed to be working on Black Cat. That's like, hey Kevin, how's issue 4 coming out? Oh, I'm working on it right now.
So you're probably more familiar, but in terms of writing a comic, I'm assuming it's going to be something somewhat akin to writing a script for a film in terms of writing something. It's not going to be, when it comes to writing, let's say, a comic, it's not going to be a huge like, he doesn't, basically when it comes to a comic, the prose, the meat of it is going to be down to the actual artist.
Yes,
but someone like Kevin Smith is going to be the outline. He's going to be the important bone structure, but he's not.
A guy like a comic book writer's job is you're going to give what happens on each page and the dialogue. You may or may not be lining it out panel by panel. Like you may be saying, like, this page has 4 panels. On panel 1, this happens. On panel 2, this happens. That's kind of, it sort of depends on the artist and writer team. It depends on the actual writer, how exactly, how much detail he goes into in that regard. Because some, like, if I was say a writer and I was working with, say, Amanda Connor, I'm gonna just give a rough outline of what happens on each fucking page and the dialogue, because I know she is incredibly skilled at the art of sequential storytelling, and she probably knows better than me how many panels are needed on that page. But a different artist that maybe wants more, some artists are going to want more direction, some aren't. So it's a much more collaborative medium, obviously, than, say, writing a book or even writing a script, because, you know, you have to take into account you have to take into account who you're going to be working with as you're writing the script for a comic book. Whereas, good Lord, with
where did you get the cheese?
Just eating a block of cheese. Again, I'm convinced he was supposed to be working on a fucking Black Cat issue when that picture was taken. But yeah, basically, it's not going to be that time consuming. As I said, if you're on a roll, you can probably bang out, you know, maybe up to 6 issues over a weekend. Where, again, comic book artists are generally going to be working on about a rate of a page a day. I mean, I remember Mark Bagley during the 90s, Amazing Spider-Man went to 2 a month for a while, and he described that as the worst period of his life. Because, like, he was just working so fucking constantly.
Yeah. I mean, depending on, again, I've not read the comics, so I can't talk about the workload, but I'll take a similar case. The Walking Dead is still going as a comic, and we're talking about what might be the equivalent of a season's worth is once a year, and my old man still gets them. I've read up to like the 8th trade paperback, I think, which isn't too bad. I mean, I can spoil it the fuck out of most normies who watch the TV show and ruin it for them, which is quite nice. But
well, yeah, but from what I understand, the Walking Dead TV show, basically it starts off almost identical to the comic book, but it very quickly goes in very different directions. It follows it's kind of akin to the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, in that it very much had the same feel as the comics, but the overall story directions were often vastly different.
There's a lot of things in the comics that don't make, like for example, Rick in the comic gets his hand cut off, which even the fucking creator, I can't remember the name of the creator of the Walking Dead, he said he regrets doing that. It was a stupid fucking decision, because again, with something like once you become paralyzed in that sort of situation, like what the fuck can you do with, like, okay, you become Ash from the fucking Evil Dead, but honestly, it's not meant to be the Evil Dead. You're meant to be like, how do you can you realistically, like, take your pistol for example, try and reload it with only one hand and a fucking stump. It's not going to be easy. So there was lots of things that went on. I mean, I know Carl, for example, lost his eye in the comic. I know, I think at least two different. I know one of the characters. I know the sniper character who died in like the third or fourth season is still alive from the main group. But The Walking Dead's a weird fucking case. But then again, I don't watch The Walking Dead anymore. Same with Game of Thrones. Like even fucking is it George R.R. Martin? He's not gonna finish the fucking final Game of Thrones book before the fucking final season comes out. He's just that much of a lazy prick.
And look, I understand being fucking lazy, but there comes a point where it's like how. Look, I can understand if you're the kind of guy that like you're just not good at kicking yourself in the ass and getting yourself to work. You know what I mean? I get it.
Mm.
But in that kind of situation, especially when you're making tons of money and there's a lot on the line kind of thing, don't you maybe think to yourself, you know what? I should have somebody around me whose job it is to kick me in the ass and get me to work.
Well,
oh, by the way, that pick from the Spider-Man cartoon is a perfect example. I mean, that was the Spider-Man Secret Wars storyline where he's hanging out, or he's teaming up with Black Cat and the Lizard, among other people. It really was it was true to the spirit of Secret Wars, but boy, were the details different.
Wait, Luke, why not get Kevin Smith eating cheese next to that picture? It's so relevant.
It's like Spider-Man's lecturing him while he's doing it. Like pointing a finger, like, put down the cheese, you fat fuck.
Oh, right. Well, George R. Martin is another. Again, it's I don't know. I mean, I know you're gonna. I mean, I was speaking to you on Skype about 4-3, and my old man's seen 4-3, and he really fucking liked it. So I actually tried to compare it to Austin Powers in terms of just, it's a very fucking funny film. It's,
wait, which one?
For example, the third 4 film, the one that is just come out.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Everyone's
even see it yet,
recommending
and I didn't even realize it was out right now. So,
but I'm hoping to see that tomorrow, and
yeah, I might do the same.
the thing is, I've not seen the first 4 films. Same with Captain America. I had zero interest, and it's the one thing I give credit to Marvel and Disney. They made characters which, to normies, they would not have given a shit about. You talk about normie comic book heroes 5 to 10 years ago, you're talking about Batman and Superman. And now when you talk about the Justice League film, it's like, is it going to be good? That's not something you should hear from normies. That's like the last thing. You're thinking, oh shit, it's going to be a Batman Superman film. It's going to be just like that Nolan film I saw. It's like, that's the sort of reaction you expect. But they're not giving that. They're going to think Batman v Superman and that fucking 5-hour monologue about, Batman heard the name Martha and basically gave up the entire film.
Martha is the safety word.
It's honestly bad in retrospect. Apparently some people are saying, like, from the quote unquote Chinese previews, that the film might be good, but again, the Chinese are keeping the Transformers films alive, so you can't really keep, you can't really take them.
I think the Justice League movie's gonna suck ass.
I'll wait and see. I mean, it's Zack Snyder being edited by Josh Whedon, so that it's going to be a massive mess, I think.
At the very least, best case scenario, it's not going to be what it should be. A Justice League movie should be epic. Like I said before, I should have a 10-foot long erection with a bald eagle perched on the tip, just from the trailer. And
it's the
not only do you not have the big 7, you don't even have the big 5.
Yeah, it's
you don't have Green Lantern in it, and you don't even have Superman in it for probably most of it.
I mean, they tried to. I mean, we've said this before, but
I want Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, and then Aquaman and Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
I don't want fucking Cyborg in it. Stick that up your ass, DC. Cyborg is not a founding member of the Justice League. Lick my nuts, all right?
It's like they tried to. We can all say Cyborg was pushed in for the
New 52, which is interesting that now we're even backing away from New 52 shit now. But I mean, if you got to push a black guy in there, make Green Lantern John Stewart then.
Yeah, you could even make it's like Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy is clearly a black actor. Like everyone knows that fucking actress. She's a black actress, and if someone's going to say African American females represent that film,
you know what? Cast a black guy as Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, that would work. It would make sense.
Make it when he turns into a human being to like blend in. Make it so he looks like a black guy. Cast what's that dude from that they want to make James Bond, even though they shouldn't make a black guy James Bond.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, make him Martian Manhunter. That would work fucking perfectly.
Well, you mentioned that.
Great.
Have you seen trailers for Pacific Rim 2?
I have not. I've heard it's in Africa or some shit like that.
Oh, it's hilariously bad. They've got John Boyega from.
We was in Africa. We was robots and shit.
We were stormtroopers and shit. It's someone put it quite well. Pacific Rim 1 was done by what's his name? Fucking Del Toro, and he's a bit autistic, so you can understand. I'll be honest, I don't know what you think of Pacific Rim, the first film, but I thought it was well made. It was decent. It wasn't.
I enjoyed it.
Amazing, but it was a well made film. And I saw some of the trailers, and it actually looks like fanfic. Some of the action, it costs less than the first film, which is never a good sign. And it's made by a director who's not fucking autistic.
Well, just looking at this Justice League trailer Luke had put in here, the poster, I still cannot get over the fact that we have a better looking Flash on network television than we do on the big screen. Like I can't get over that fact. Like, I mean, aside from the fact that in this Justice League movie that looks like Flash is fucking Peter Parker for some reason in personality, like the costume looks shittier, like the actor isn't as good. I mean, like there's a better looking version of the Flash on network television than there's going to be in a theatrical big budget Justice League movie. I can't get over that ineptitude. How does anyone allow that to happen?
In all fairness, though, there's been better Lex Luthors in every TV show of Superman than there has been in films. But the general rule is Lex Luthor.
We're talking about, we're talking about one of the big 5 in the Justice League, and he's portrayed better on a low budget basic TV or a network TV movie or network TV show. I mean, I can't get over it. It's just. I can't get over how butt-fuckingly flawed this Justice League movie is from the get-go. Like, there's nothing right about it other than, like, Batman and Wonder Woman. There's nothing right about it other than that. That's it. That's the only 2 things it gets right. I can't get over it. It's so fucking sad. I mean, you're better off just going and watching the Justice League cartoon from the early 2000s. A fucking cartoon aimed primarily at children from 2002, I guarantee you is going to be far, far better than a big budget theatrical live action release in 2017.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because as everyone's mentioned, DC has appeared to have been that sort of company that's tried to play catch up with Marvel, where Marvel has actually played. They've got all the main characters of the Avengers.
The long game.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And DC have tried to do that, but they don't seem to realize that as soon as they start, Marvel are technically going to be finishing their Avengers stuff. Because I mean, I'm trying to think. Is it Infinity Wars 2 is meant to finish in like 2019, 2020? It's going to be gone by then. and then they're going to be obviously redoing some of their stuff. It's going to be broken up, and it's not going to be as congealed as it's been. Because that, I mean, I know you like Iron Man 2, but I think that film would have been a lot stronger if it wasn't for the whole trying to build up to the Avengers. Like, if you removed Avengers
Iron Man
and
2
just
is
had
probably one of the weakest of all those movies.
Hmm.
My main thing that I've said is that it's not nearly as bad as everyone says.
if it was, I reckon it would have been
it's a terrible movie, and I think it's okay.
It would have been a close to. I won't say close to, but it would have been certainly a better film if it wasn't for the whole Disney Marvel trying to make an Avengers film.
Well,
but that again, that's not part of its
They
design.
wanted to build on the Avengers stuff more, but they didn't know how yet. You know what I mean?
But regardless, it should have been necessarily about that. Again, with these,
Really,
the whole
Iron Man
point.
2 shouldn't have existed. They couldn't get the other films out fast enough, and they wanted a stopgap in between. They didn't want a full 3-year gap between Iron Man and then Captain America and Thor. So they just cobbled together a sequel to like hold people over. I mean, in many regards, you could almost argue Iron Man 2 just shouldn't have existed. Period.
It was again, it was sort of like a bracket film. I mean, I'm trying to think. The only film after was the Incredible Hulk. It was after Iron Man 1, if I remember correctly.
It was actually the same year as Iron Man.
Yeah, and
just nobody really remembers it.
Oh God, I think everyone's forgotten it, and that's the Edward
Norton
one.
Not a bad movie by any stretch, but
oh no,
it was pretty damn good for the time.
But I think in terms of everyone seeing it on the production, Iron Man 2. Again, it's like alternate discussions. Like, what if we're not in the what if situation? Iron Man 2, I would be quite interested to be in the realm where it was seen as a sort of I mean, from what Mickey Rourke has said of that film and of John Favreau said of what they wanted, but then again, obviously we did get sort of Iron Man 3, and that was sort of a fucking weird realm on its own, because it was, I don't know what the fuck they were doing with that. With, again, everyone sort of talks about sort of the Iron Man villains. It was a great build up until they sort of made the entire villain a fucking punchline. I'm not sure why. But then again, that might just be Marvel, Disney, fucking competent.
Like, I don't like the Mandarin, he's racist. So right from the get-go, you know, or maybe it was the writer, I forget, but he was interviewing right from the get-go, you know, he wanted to take the piss out of the character. So yeah, I see a lot of people are complaining, like, oh, the director couldn't do exactly what he wanted in Iron Man 2. It's like, well, tough shit. You know, I don't get me wrong, that movie came out really flawed. But at the same time, I mean, obviously, if you're trying to build a big, coherent, shared universe, you're not going to just let people do whatever the fuck they want. I mean, I think part of the problem with Batman versus Superman is there was a whole hell of a lot too much indulgence in what jackasses wanted to do.
Yeah. Little Hack Schneider. That's the... Do you know what? That's another big mystery. Why do they keep bringing Zack Schneider back?
I don't know. I couldn't fucking tell you. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to wrap this up soon because I got a lap full of dog here, and he's kind of making my leg fall asleep. I got like my one leg up on the other, you know, as the dog sitting on my lap, and now my leg is like I'm going to almost fall over when I stand up. Yeah, so if you enjoy the show, folks, do check out the tip jar down below where you can send me some shekels. That's greatly appreciate it. And as I've said before, Friday night is the regular stream night, so do check us out there. There will be streams throughout the week. The night before Halloween, I'll be doing a stream where I both talk about horror movies and the 500th anniversary of not having to give a fuck what the Pope thinks. So that'll be nice. And the VidMe channel. There's a Halloween special up on the VidMe channel. If you haven't already checked it out, do check it out. And more vids coming down the pike. In fact, I just recorded audio for another one here recently. One on the Power Rangers, of all things. I just felt like talking about the Power Rangers. So, yeah, do check that out. And I want to thank everybody for being on the show here. Luke, and thanks for the sidekick duties. British James, thanks as always for hopping on. Forney and Pastor Tom, thanks for hopping on. Come on. Fucking there it is. The window wouldn't load for a second. And that's all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.